The light is green. Go on, cue the intro. Here we go.
No. Ah!
CoCoTALK would like to thank the patrons who sponsor our show. So our heartfelt gratitude goes out to Al Hartman, Alan Murphy, Alan Huffman, Amigos Retro Gaming, Blair Ledoux, Brendan Donaghy, Brian Wiesler, Karen Anscombe, D. Bruce Moore, Davey Mitchell, Diego, Eric Canales, Glenn Hewlett, Graham Vebke, Grant Leedy, Henry Strickland, Jason Downs, Jenna Farron, Ken Reichert, Kyle Etter, Malfunct, Michael Pitsley, Rick Hewlin, Paul Fiscarelli, Paul Shoemaker, Paul Thayer, Rob Inman, Stephen Wagner, Steve Batson, Steve Rasmussen, Terry Steen, Terry Steggy, The Backyard Shed Gang, Tom C., Tom S., Tim Lindner, Tom Heron, and Tony C. Thank you ever so much, patrons. CoCoTALK is an unscripted live broadcast. Anything can and will happen. The views and opinions expressed by members of the panel and the live audience are their own and not necessarily those of the CoCoTALK show, its sponsors, affiliates, or subsidiaries. Open minds encouraged, sense of humor recommended. If any off-color comments were made, we're sorry.
Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color computer. It's time to drop your socks, grab your real-time clocks, and let's rock.
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to CoCoTALK episode 217. We've got a very special guest today. We've got Aaron Newcomb from the Retro Hack Shack talking about CoCo hardware. Are you ready?
CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world, keeping the Tandy flame alive. We may be mocked, but we'll never stop, cause CoCoTALK is rocking the 8-bit world.
All right, we are here. We're live. We're on the air. We've got a great show in store for you. We've got a panel has been assembled. We've got a special guest. We're going to be talking about CoCo hardware mods. We've got a live audience out there watching us already. So real quick, want to say hi to Mark Bosley and Kevin Holloway and Ken Make It. David Craker's out there. Hey, David. Jim Rye is out there. Samuel Gimes. James Jones is out there. And Nick Marotta, Todd Knudsen, Todd Knudsen is out there. All kinds of people. Karen is out there. Sixy. So thanks you guys for tuning in live each and every week. We appreciate that. We've got a panel, and we're going to run around real quick and just say hi to everybody. The legendary game designer himself, Mr. Rick Adams, is in the house. Hey, Rick, thanks for joining us.
Hey, glad to be here.
Name so nice, we must say it thrice. It's Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta.
Hello, Stevie. Glad to be here.
And your hair is looking luxurious today, Nick, as always. So,
oh, isn't it?
it is. It's
yeah,
looking,
our hair
yes.
cutting places are still closed.
We have the
Flowing Mane, I believe is what it's
the
called.
creator of the CoCo Blue Board, a fully functional CoCo 2 motherboard clone. Pedro's with us. Hello, Pedro.
Hi, everyone. Great to be here.
Thanks for joining us. We got the guy who puts the links in the live chat and does all kinds of other stuff behind the scenes. Mark Overholzer's here. Thank you, Mark.
Glad to be here, as usual.
Our foreign correspondent and oh so polite Canadian, L. Curtis Boyle's here. How's it going, eh?
Good day, eh? Welcome to the show, everybody.
All right. Take off, eh? Rick Hewlin's here. Hey, Rick.
Howdy, folks.
Our assembly language aficionado is here. George. Hey, George. Looking forward to another lesson with you today. We can barely read your shirt, and you're muted. But keep on talking. We'll just pretend like we can hear you. It's all good.
The 2 for 1. We can't read your shirt and we can't hear you.
The author of Forest Doom, the creator of CoCo Forever, and he's also a Canadian. He's De Bruce Moore. Take off, eh?
Good day, eh?
Another
Good day,
yes.
and welcome to CoCoTALK.
Hey, take off, eh? Another behind-the-scenes guy does all kinds of stuff for us for the show and for the newsletter. Alan Murphy's here.
Howdy, howdy.
He's from Arizona. He's got a garage. It's Ron Delvo. Hello, Ron. Our backup streamer and engineer, Mark Bosley's here. Hey, Mark.
Hello.
A guy who gets a thing or two off of eBay from time to time, Brian Wiesler's here.
Oh, cheers.
And creator of many CoCo products, often involving toggle switches, Jason, the CoCo Man Reichert is here. How's it going, Jason?
Hey, and I'm not muted. Good afternoon.
Yes, there we go.
King of the toggle.
And then we're going to jump right in and just feature our guest of honor right now. But we are very, very happy to have with us. Thank you for being here. But Aaron Newcomb is here. From many things, but we are going to focus on, but feel free to tell us as much as you want to tell us, but your Retro Hack Shack, where you do all kinds of cool projects, and of notice things that involve the color computer, restorations, and HDMI output, all kinds of good stuff. Thanks for joining us, Aaron.
Yeah, from time to time, I focus on the CoCo. More than I thought I would, actually, when I got started. It was... Color computer was my first computer, so it holds a special place in my heart, of course. But yeah, when I first started, I didn't know there was so many cool things I could do to the CoCo. Because when I was a kid, I never modded anything. I never did memory upgrades or anything. I just used a stock system. So now, being somewhat older, let's say, it's like being a kid in a candy store.
Excellent.
I was going to ask you, like you've been involved with open source, you've been involved with Twit TV and a bunch of other things. What got you into creating the Retro Hack Shack in the first place?
I've wanted to do it for a long time. A couple of things. One was, just getting back into retro. I mean, I kind of left that whole world when I was a kid, right? Kind of put it to the side. Always interested in technology, of course. But more interested in newer technology, right? And then I'm sure, like a lot of us, it's like, man, I kind of miss those old days. I feel nostalgic for those old computers, and started collecting again. And I think I did actually approach Twit with an idea for a show. I even did a write-up on it. I still have it somewhere, and it was going to be called Make It or Break It. And it was going to be like a hacking / vintage computer thing, but kind of focus on hacking mostly. And then there was this show that came out on, I don't know, one of the minor cable networks or something, called Make It or Break It, which was about, I think, cheerleaders or gymnasts or something. I don't remember.
Slightly different.
And yeah, it was definitely different, but it was the same name, and so that pretty much tanked the whole idea because there was already a show with that name. So, and then I just never pursued it for like years after that, for a couple years. And then when I started collecting, I'm like, you know what? I might as well do my own show, because there's nothing stopping me at this point. I don't need the fancy production, hoopla, and a sound engineer and an audio or a video engineer, helping me, and pay a lot of people. I can do this by myself because I've been doing it for years, even before Twit. So yeah, I just went for it, and it's actually working out a lot better than I thought.
And just for people that aren't familiar, what shows are you regularly on? What shows are you sometimes on Twit? Just so you kind of know what your background is.
Yeah, so these days I mostly focus on Floss Weekly. I could do more. I've done more in the past. I was on the Screensavers. I was on All About Android. A couple others, but this one, the open source is really near and dear to my heart. And it's about the only one I have time to do these days. So between doing my own YouTube channel, which I try to release videos every week, which is pretty tough to do, and then I work at a startup, so and I have a family, and so between all of those things, I just can't do more Twitch shows than Floss Weekly, and I try to do it at least once a month, sometimes twice a month.
Okay. And you've been doing like retro projects, as Stevie mentioned in the intro there, that you've been doing it with a lot of retro computers. What's your definition of a retro computer? Like, when does it cease to be retro and become more modern? Like you were saying, you're originally into the new stuff all the time, or do you have a cutoff?
Yeah, I don't have a cutoff. I mean, it's too hard to gauge, right? Because as soon as you do that, then you'll see something that's really cool from an era that you thought wasn't vintage before. You know, I picked up I don't know if you remember those. What was the name of them? It was a Fujitsu laptop from the 2000s. I want to say mid 2000s, and it was one of those that flipped around. The display flipped around. It was very early on. I can't remember. Was it a Life book maybe? Yeah, it might have been called a Life book. Anyway, I saw one of those, and I'm like, well, okay, that goes. You know, I don't consider that retro. I don't consider it vintage yet, but it's kind of getting there. Like, you know, it's 15 years old. And I went ahead and picked it up, right? Just because it was so cool and interesting. But most of the time, the stuff I focus on the channel is, I would say up to 2000. Nothing. I don't think I featured anything that was over a 1995. I've got a video coming up on Monday that is a laptop that was put out in 1994. I think that's one of the newest pieces of tech I featured. But that was cool because it's a Canon laptop that was also a printer. I don't know if you remember those. There were several around that time frame as, you know, manufacturers were trying to figure out, you know, what they could do to entice customers. I mean, the market was so fresh back then, really. Once things got small enough and the power ratio got right, that they could create almost anything in that form factor. And so then you started seeing all this weird gadgets and technology come out with laptops. And one of them was this Canon laptop, which was actually made by IBM. Although it wasn't, they never marketed it except in Japan. And it had a built-in printer, and it's no bigger than a normal laptop.
Wow.
Oh, was this a full-size printer or like a thermal printer or something?
No. It was a full-size printer. Well, we say full-size, right? Everything was miniaturized. All the gears were really small and everything to fit into that form factor. But I can show you a picture of it while we're talking, maybe. But yeah, it was
like standard 8.5 by 12 sheets.
Standard 8.5 by 12 sheets, bubble jet technology. Let me see if I can pull up a picture real quick. It was here it is. Let me share my screen. Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
If I share my screen, will you see it? Okay. I think this is it.
Yeah, when I hear a computer printer hybrid, the first thing I think of is like the Coleco Atom. Oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, so I as you can tell by that picture, it looks like a regular laptop from that era, from maybe the early 90s.
Yeah,
you know? This was the mid 90s, but I also have a Packard Bell, early Packard Bell laptop that was about the same size, from 1992 or 91 or 92. So this isn't far off, right? But it's not. You would think this would be some big, you know, bulky laptop. It's not. I mean, the keyboard flips up, and there's the paper feed is underneath the keyboard, so it's on hinges, and the keyboard flips up. I just thought it was really, really cool. So I'm trying to get it working. That's the problem. Is that the screen wasn't working at first, and now the printer's not working, and I have a feeling that that there's an IC somewhere in the printer circuit that got blown up when I was doing nasty things to it. So
actually, that brings up my next question. Are you concentrating specifically on just hardware hacking, or are you also going to be doing some software hacking as well, especially for the really old ones where it's a bit more controllable for the user?
Yeah, probably. I was just thinking last night that there's some cool things that you could do with IO on some of these computers, but I'm not a huge software guy. I mean, I've written a lot of software. You know, I was a big Perl hacker back in the day, but I don't touch it anymore. Mostly Python now. But I never learned assembly. That's my biggest drawback for the channel, I feel like, is that I'd really love to do some stuff in assembly. And maybe I'll do a series where I'm learning assembly for the CoCo or something.
Yeah.
And we got the show for you today.
Yeah, we're starting that here on this show.
It sounds like it. Yeah. It sounds like it. Yeah, but maybe document the learning process for someone that's brand new. I know there's some other channels that have done similar things. 8-bit Show and Tell. I think that channel has done similar things for the C64, where, you know, it's kind of an intro to assembly. for the C64 for the 6502. So yeah, maybe we'll see.
Okay. I know I have a burning question that I've never had a chance to ask you before, even on Twit, but I know years ago you wore a Dungeons of Daggerath shirt on Twit a few times. And I was wondering, that was kind of before I started seeing people actually selling them. So where did you get yours? Was that a custom made thing, or did you find some place that was selling them?
No, it's a custom made thing I got the artwork for the cartridge, of course. And if you remember the manual on the front of the manual, it's very iconic, right? And the great thing about it was mostly black and red. So it was kind of the perfect thing for a t-shirt, because you don't want too many colors usually for a really nice t-shirt. So just found a high-res scan of that. I had to do some image manipulation to get it in the right format. I actually made the black transparent. So you buy it on a black t-shirt, you don't have to worry about printing the black. It makes it look a lot nicer. Yeah. So no, I built that myself, not the logo, of course, but not the original graphics, of course, didn't come from me, obviously. But the t-shirt was designed by me, and that's available. I've done several like that. This one that I'm wearing is also available on my website, retrohackshack.com. And yes.
Back up a little. How does the cursor work on the shirt?
I didn't realize you had that.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see it. There's a little flashing cursor there if I sit up a little straighter.
The little LED?
Yeah, you can buy these LEDs off of AliExpress or eBay, and they're just flashing color rainbow LEDs. If you look up flashing rainbow LED on eBay or something, you'll find them. And all it takes is a little coin cell battery to run them. And so I just poked the LED through the t-shirt. There's a little battery taped to the backside, basically, with an on-off switch, and that's it. Pretty simple to do. I did print out a little plastic piece at one point that was the size of one of the text blocks.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
And put that over it, so to try to make it look more like the rectangle blinking shape. But it just kept falling off. So I said, well, forget it. No one's probably really is going to care about that detail but me. But
no.
So I'm going to order the version 2 of the keyboard, or the t-shirt where you actually have a working keyboard and actually will type across the screen.
There we go. Sounds good.
When you're looking at creating videos, where do you draw your inspiration from? Is it things that you want to do, or is it viewer comments, or combination?
It's a combination. Mostly it's things that I want to do, but in the case of bringing HTMI to the CoCo 1, 2, and 3, that started as something I wanted to do, and then a user chimed in and said, "Oh, it doesn't look like you can do artifact colors. It looks like they're not working right," or something. I can't remember what the comment was. So I went back to the developers and said, "Well, can we do artifact colors?" And sure enough, within a couple of days, they had artifact colors working, emulated artifact colors, but it works perfectly. And that was something that came from a viewer. I mean, it would have happened eventually anyway, but having a viewer say, "Hey, can you do this?" I was like, "Yeah, we really need to do that," because I don't know what percentage of games use artifact colors, but it's got to be most of them, right?
On the CoCo, 100%.
Oh yeah, well over 50%.
Yeah, more.
At least I was going to say more like 80%, right?
Yeah. That's probably close. Yeah.
So in that case, it pushed the project forward.
Did they leave the reset button thing in? To
swap the artifact?
No, you can configure that in the menu of the board, though. So if you want to change the phase of the colors to get blue instead of orange,
yeah,
you can do that.
Yeah, just hit F1. But if you're on a CoCo 2, no F1.
Right. Yep.
Hey, Aaron.
Good.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So great channel, by the way. I love it.
Thank you.
Very nice. And well, you answered the artifacting question. So Alan from AC's 8-Bit Zone wanted to ask you. He couldn't make it today. If you tried the artifacting.
Yep.
And you just answered that.
Yep.
And actually, I saw the board for the first time. Actually, I'd seen versions of the board before, but I saw it for the first time with the analog board on your channel when you hooked it up to the CoCo 1. And so it inspired me, and so I built it as well. And I've hooked it up, and I've asked you a couple of questions.
Awesome.
And you answered them, but I've been using it, and it's fantastic. It's really good.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's one of those few projects where it's just like, it's so useful. You just said, well, I wonder if it could support this system. I wonder if it could support this system. And inevitably, the answer is yes. Yeah. As long as it's a system that has some sort of RGB, either digital or analog RGB capability, or monochrome composite. So I got it working on the Apple II, which also could take advantage of the artifact emulation. And then Adrian Black, actually, I sent one to him, and he got his working on Mac. So the early Macs, all the classic Macs and the 64K type variants of Macs, all those early Macs, it'll actually work for, because it's just monochrome composite output.
Yeah.
So really versatile.
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, really, it just needs a lot of feedback, so they can put profiles in there for each system. But I guess I did see that he was selling them at one point, but I guess he's no longer selling them.
So he's going to be selling them again, and I was going to save it for the channel, but I'll announce it here. I'm actually going to be selling them as well. So the developer and I, since we've worked together on a couple of different projects, mostly the CoCo ones, he's agreed to let me sell it in North America, and I'm going to donate some of the proceeds back to the project to help keep it going. So, yeah, that should be coming as soon as I get the boards from China. I've got the analog boards already, just waiting for the main boards. And as soon as I get those, I can, I'll have them up on the website, and people can order them in North America. That way they can save the expensive shipping from the UK. So they'll be available in the UK, and they'll be available in North America.
Oh, and so are you going to be selling the stock, sort of design, or are you going to have modified versions?
No, I'll just sell the stock design. Most of the modification comes down to the cables, and I'm not going to do custom cables because that's just too much work. I don't have time for that. But I will sell a cable bundle that will give you the ribbon cables and stuff that you can just so you don't have to order them yourselves. You can just take those and break them out into whatever connector you need to for your particular machine.
Well, I was thinking of making sort of like a little board to pop in place of your VDG, put the VDG in with that 10-pin connector.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Connector on there, so it would just be a ribbon cable.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love that idea
for testing.
Yep.
But so I guess you answered the question. You're going to be selling it because the one problem that I had with it was actually sourcing the components. That's kind of difficult for a lot of people to do, and then to actually assemble it.
Yep.
Most people won't.
Yeah, that's more challenging these days, right? With the chip shortage. So with this last round, or my first round of ordering these, getting these assembled, and of course the developer Ian, he's been doing it for a while, but we were really worried that we weren't going to be able to get the CPLDs, and somehow we were able to get them. So maybe that's not affected by the chip shortage as much, but I would think it would be a prime target for being affected actually by this type of chip shortage. So we'll see the next round. I mean, hopefully we can get more. But there's not much we can do about that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, cool. It's hitting just about everybody. So,
is it going to be an assembled kit, or is it going to come as a kit or ready to go, nearly turnkey? Or
good question. Yeah, it'll be fully assembled, tested, software loaded. So you shouldn't have to do anything unless you wanted to upgrade the firmware for some new feature or support for some new system. It'll be fully assembled and tested.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, Pedro, I got a couple of your videos this week in the news, but I'll cover them now because they're concerning the HDMI. Because you said you originally had gotten a really good picture out of the CoCo 2 version, but then the CoCo 1 version, but the CoCo 2 is giving you some noise, and you had to do some sort of a fix to.
Yeah. Well, so the CoCo 1 was perfect. I mean, just like what you had on your show there, I did that, and very little tweaking. It was perfect. Now the CoCo 2, on the other hand, both of my CoCo 2s, I was getting a lot of like sparklies all over the screen and stuff. And so I spent days and days and days trying to figure it out and modifying this and that. And so I was corresponding with Ian. And
okay, perfect. I do remember this comment now. I remember you asking that question.
Well, we finally figured it out, and he made a couple of comments there, and he went in, and so I had to remove actually 2 components to actually
really
work it now. Yeah, from the CoCo.
What did you remove? That's curious.
So the CoCo 1 doesn't have this, but on the Y channel, there's a capacitor, there's a 150 picofarad capacitor, and then on my version of the CoCo 2, that's C59, and then on the artifacting circuit, there's a 1K resistor. And so we removed those two, and then it made the difference, and then it was just minor tweaking after that. Well, actually, no, there was one more thing I had to do. For whatever reason, on both of my CoCos, if I powered the Pi from the board itself, I'd get sparklies every now and then, or you sort of see like, something like running across the screen, with a predictable frequency. Yep. But if I powered it externally with its own power supply, the Pi, everything's perfect.
Huh.
So I was wondering if you ran into any of that.
No, because I didn't actually test it on the CoCo 2. I just did the CoCo 1, which I assumed would work just fine on the CoCo 2, and then I did the CoCo 3, which is of course using the RGB. So that's really interesting. Well, we'll have to make sure. I wonder if that's just your particular version, or if that's going to be common across all CoCo 2s.
So he says he has a CoCo 2. He doesn't have the version I have. I have the 26. Well, it's the bigger board of the CoCo 2. He has a smaller board version, the newer version. And he says he did not see that on his. Now, I've ordered more parts to build another one of these boards, just in case, it's my board that I have an issue with it. But I mean, it works fine with the CoCo 1, even powering it from the CoCo 1. So I doubt that, it's an assembly issue. I mean, it could be.
Huh. Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But
interesting. Well, that's good. Yeah, and I'm sure he'll document that as well for other CoCo 2 owners that want to do this.
Yeah, and and I'll confirm that is what needs to be done as soon as my parts get here and I build another board.
Okay.
Just rule that out.
Awesome.
But, it makes sense as well. The CoCo 1 doesn't have those components on there.
Right.
I don't know if the CoCo 3 does.
No, Pedro, one of your videos was also showing like you were clearing the screen with red, I think, and it does that flash.
Right.
You just figured that out as well? I didn't get a chance to check all this stuff out. So.
Yes, that was fixed. So Ian confirmed that was, an issue with the artifacting stuff that he had put in. And he, in fact, put up a fix for it. And I tested it, and it's fixed. So it was an issue with the artifacting code, the way it detected the NTSC artifacting.
Perfect. So that could be fixed in the profile or in the software.
Right. He put up a patch. Well, if you go into the repo there, where the issues are, Yep. You go down on the bottom. He has a link.
Okay.
For the patched version, which I guess he'll put out another release.
He's so responsive. He's a great developer. You couldn't ask for a better, open source developer. I think he loves this stuff. I think he has a passion for it. Number one, I've only talked to him really through email and on the forums, but sounds like he really has a passion for doing this, and he knows it so well at this point. Problems like that come up that would, how many people is that going to impact, right? For the project, I'm sure a lot of people are using it more for the BBC Micro or the IBM PC. But he's willing to take that up and be like, yeah, okay, you're having a problem, sure, and then like in a couple of days he puts out a fix or figures out what the problem is. I mean, really deserves a lot of kudos, Ian, for what he's doing with that project.
Really does.
Yeah,
absolutely. More power to him. And Ian, if you see this, thank you. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
I was gonna say what Pedro's doing, aka Rocky Hill. He's creating parts for the CoCo that we can't get anymore. So he's made a complete replica motherboard. You're working on what the PIA chip, the salt chip replacement, the PIA chip. So Pedro's doing some really interesting stuff in the CoCo space that hasn't been done before. And you mentioned too, I think, Aaron, that you're looking at doing some more Septandy stuff, and which is not too far away. And this last Septandy was really CoCo heavy. There were a lot of people doing CoCo stuff, and we happened to kind of catch a lot of that, and we've made a lot of acquaintances, a lot now that are like regulars on the show that we're featuring and stuff. So
that's awesome.
Pedro and Canadian Retro Things and
Alan from AC's
8-Bit Zone. So a lot of these guys who were just like they kind of showed up out of nowhere, did a few Septandy things, and then we said, hey guys, come, we're here, we're a big thriving community, come join us, and so we brought all these people into the collective, and it's been really cool. And so I'm hoping that this year's Septandy will be even bigger, and we get a bigger spotlight on our. We're obviously biased because most of us, the CoCo was our first machine. We grew up with it. It was our first love. So we want to see more and more exposure on that 8-bit of all the ones out there, So
yeah.
We're looking forward.
It was always the underdog, so that's another reason for it.
I know it's happening. Oh, that's better. Look at that light. My window is throwing off my my light here. I'm trying different things. I know that there's talk amongst the YouTubers in doing it again. So the plan is definitely to do it. I think it pushed people that are generalists like me into doing videos that they maybe had on the back burner, right? That they weren't going to do for a while. I think it pushed them into bringing those to the forefront and getting those done sooner rather than later. So I think that just the effort, or just the initiative to do that and focus on it really pushed people in that direction. So I'm glad it's paid off. Now, the only thing I hope is that people aren't holding on to those projects necessarily until September to put them out. I know I've done stuff in the interim, of course, and I have some stuff that I am holding off on doing until September, just to make sure I have some very interesting content to contribute. But yeah, I don't know. I've got a TRS-80 Model 3 that I haven't done anything on the channel. I did it all before I started the channel.
Mm-hmm.
So I fixed it. I got it working. I got a emulated floppy drive working on it, and loaded some programs and did some things. And I did that all just, before I started my channel, just on my own. But I think I should probably pull that back out and do something with that. And then I've got a couple other things that I'm thinking about doing that are CoCo related, which one is a playthrough of Dungeons of Daggereth, of course, favorite game of all time. So talking a little bit about the history. I actually have the source code for Dungeons of Daggereth. I was working on a Python port at one point.
Actually,
so
yeah, a few of us saw that and we were going to verify that was you.
Yeah, so I didn't get very far on it because of some of the issues with Python. I thought this is so backwards doing it this way, and I just lost interest. But who knows? I might pick it up again if I can fix some of those simple timing issues that I was seeing.
Yeah, there is a Windows port already, but
there is a Windows port. There's a C port, of course. I forget, that one's pretty famous. It's been out there for a while. I can't remember the name of it though. Do you guys remember?
Yeah, the PC Daggereth.
Yeah, I think it's PC Daggereth. That's it. So that's been out for a long time.
Last year,
yeah, I think
we had a guy last year port it to the web. So there's Daggereth Online where he did WebAssembly. So there's an online version that you can play. That even works like on a mobile device. So that's kind of
awesome.
cool. Yeah,
that's awesome. So yeah, I might cover like all the different ways that it's kind of a history first.
It's almost like the CoCo's version of Doom. You're going to get a version of it on just about any device at some point in time. So
yeah, for sure. Yep. So that's one thing I'm thinking of, and then I've also got I can't remember the name of it. It's sitting out in the garage, but it's sorry, my dog's barking at me. There's a sketch pad for the CoCo. I don't know if you guys remember that.
There was the Koala pad, and then there was a digitizer tablet too.
Yeah,
the X-Pad, yeah.
The X-Pad.
I think this is the X-Pad.
Okay.
I found that. I lucked into that.
Is it the big gray expensive one, or is it the little smaller?
No, it's big.
Beige?
It's big.
Yeah,
that'd be X-Pad.
Had like a hardwired pen to it.
Yep.
Exactly.
Jason has one. Yep, there
There's
goes.
a couple of.
Oh, there we go. There we go.
Yeah.
So I've got one of those. So I'm thinking about doing an episode on that and how it works, and I thought that would be kind of fun too. Because I never knew there was Koala Pad. I assumed there was a Koala Pad because it seemed like there was a Koala Pad for everything.
Yeah,
there was.
But I never had heard of this other one.
It was kind of expensive when it was a couple $100 when it came out. And
it's
then
$479 Canadian when it came out here. I know
like,
that.
So 500, eh?
Wow.
Take off, eh? And then to use it, you would have needed to have the CoCo and the multi-pack interface, because if you wanted to save anything to disk, So now you're looking at a $500 CoCo, $500 tablet. The multi-pack was like $200, so you got $1,200 right there. I think I got mine on a fire sale when they were getting rid of them for like $100 back in the day. And it was a fun toy because you could read it from BASIC. You were just basically peeking to a memory location to see the X, Y, where they were, and if the pen was up or down. So I wrote my own drawing programs with it, and I did demos for my computer club. It was a neat thing. I think I've got one, and when I got back into collecting, I got one on eBay. But yeah, that is really cool.
That's awesome.
It's a unique device. It's a very unique device that I don't think there was one like that on a lot of other 8-bits,
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, I'll reach out to you guys if I have questions. I'm sure I will.
Yeah. It does require 12 volts for that cartridge, so you couldn't run it off of a CoCo 2 or CoCo 3 without a multi-pack. Back in the old days, the CoCo's cartridge port was 12 volts to the cartridge line, and so if you got a newer one, you'd need to kind of boost it.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Or an external power to give the 12 volts.
Yeah. Cool.
Neat. When did you first CoCo? When did what was your first experience?
Oh man, trying to think how old I was. Maybe 6 or 7, I would say.
Wow.
And what it was is we knew a guy that was really into computers at the time, and he kept getting the latest ones as they came out. Or he would get 2 or 3 and then decide he doesn't need 2 or 3. So he was really into it. And he took pity on our family and gave us one of the early CoCos, basically, that he didn't need anymore. And that's how we got our first computer. And the first game I played on it, I think, was Bedlam.
Oh, wow. Classic.
And we were just like, the whole family was, it was a classic picture, right? We were all, huddled around the computer, just like you see in the magazine, right?
Yeah.
Like an advertisement.
Try opening the painted door.
Exactly. Yeah. So that was my first experience. And then my friends got one, and, my best friends, I was over there all the time. And so they got one, and, my friend's dad was a big ham radio guy, so he was kind of into electronics and knew this kind of stuff, and so he, as soon as for example OS 9 was available, he put OS 9 on his CoCo 3, and so that opened up that whole realm. And we used to sit around and play what was that submarine game called?
Sub-Battle Simulator.
Sub-Battle Simulator, I think.
Kept by Epix, yeah.
I think so. And so we would load that up and we would just sit there for hours at a time. Or in that game, like if you ran out of, if your diesel engines got hit or something, you'd have to run off electricity or vice versa, and I remember there was times where you could speed up the clock on that game to so that you could pass time more quickly. And I remember, we could only run at like 2 knots an hour or something like that at some point, and so we're like, okay, here's where we're going to go, let's just set it, and then we'll go outside and play for a while, we'll come back and see if we made it back to base or whatever. So yeah, tons of good memories from those early days, and of course learning BASIC as well. So one of the first programs I did, besides all the ones out of the books, of course, one of the first things that I did for myself as soon as I learned how to do graphics in BASIC was, of course, I had to design a model of the Starship Enterprise. And so I built the Enterprise, right? And it would all load out very slowly in BASIC on the screen, draw each line, and then it would play the theme song. And my sister helped me with because I wasn't a musician, but I could do the coding. So she helped me with the notes. And so that was one of the first programs I remember doing by myself, was drawing out the Enterprise and having it play the theme song.
Of course,
I wish I still had that program.
That would have had to have been the original series at that point, NCC 1701, before we got into the next gen and everything else. But yeah,
exactly,
classic.
But what's funny is that we used for whatever reason, my sister and I don't know if my sister suggested it. She's like, well, let's, instead of using the normal theme song from the original show, let's use the theme song from the movie.
Oh, the motion picture.
The motion picture, which ended up being the theme song from Next Generation.
Yeah,
as well.
TNG. Yeah.
So it's funny thinking back about it. We actually had the wrong theme song, sort of, even though at the time it was just the one that we knew from the movie.
Yeah.
That was before they decided to use it. Yeah.
It was the right answer.
Yeah.
It was the right answer. We didn't know it was. We didn't know it was the right answer at the time, but it turned out to be.
So, did you keep your CoCo and any of these other retro computers during your adulthood, or did you get rid of them all and then you had to get them all back again now?
I got rid of them all, of course. It's like like so many people I talk to, very few people have kept them that were not really big enthusiasts.
Okay.
People that just I'll get into conversations with people. How did you get started? Like what was your first computer? And inevitably they say, we sold it at a garage sale, when I was a teenager because I was out of it at that point or something. And it's sad, but it's nice now that people can go back and experience that nostalgia. Most of these things are still available. The only thing I wish I had were my programs that I wrote, and they weren't great programs. They were all basic. I did an adventure game, of course, text-based adventure game. I don't remember the plot of it, but I wish I had it to go show my kids and go experience that again and see how bad my code was. I don't know.
Awesome.
Now, were you a hardware tinkerer back then too, or?
Oh yeah. I've always been somewhat of a hardware tinkerer in that I didn't play with my toys. I took them apart. Right. So my parents always had a hard time getting me stuff for Christmas because I would play with it for a couple of days and then it was in parts, right? Pieces, parts. I had sorted all the gears and all of the motors and all the plastic parts, and then I would create Frankenstein cars or whatever and drive them around, and it was just the way I was. I guess.
What was the kid in Toy Story who did that? I can't think of his name right now.
His name.
Sid. Yeah, Sid would take all his sister stuff and make like evil versions of everything.
That was my bedroom, but without all of the dark, ominous lighting and all that. I wasn't mean. I didn't blow him up. I didn't blow my toys up with firecrackers or anything. But I did take them apart and I tried to put bigger motors in. I blew up a radio at one point because I tried to fix it. It had a blown capacitor and I didn't know what I was doing. And I put a capacitor in that was probably too small and probably put it in backwards and took it outside and plugged it in. And of course it exploded. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I did learn, I basically taught myself a lot of stuff just by pulling stuff apart. And that's also what got me into the maker community and starting a makerspace was that experience as a kid. I think everybody should have that experience. You learn best by taking things apart, by failing, trying something and failing. That's how you learn. And so it seems to me we need more of those types of places in our communities where people are free to do that.
All right, and your website is retrohackshack.com, right? And on YouTube, it's YouTube/RetroHackShack.
Correct.
Right.
Yep, that's for the for the YouTube channel. And the t-shirts, if anyone's interested in buying a t-shirt, they're there. So if you want to buy this one with the Coco screen or the Dungeons Daggerath, or I got a few others, check that out. It's in the shop, and that's also where the this board, the HDMI board,
excellent,
will be as well.
What is the street price on that going to be roughly when it's ready to
so right now I'm targeting for there's different components for anyone that's not familiar. You can kind of see them sandwiched together here. So there's a Raspberry Pi, which won't come included, and then actually it goes, I should turn it around, this is the top. So this board on top is the main board, and that's the board you can do digital RGB to HDMI with. That'll be $45. And then the one in the middle is the analog board. That'll be $35. So, and I'm listing all the computers that have support, that this thing supports. And so you can decide, I've got a computer that doesn't need, for example, the analog part of it. So I can just buy the main board. And then I'll sell the cable kit, which comes with what I'm planning now is it'll come with a pre-made cable for IBM PC, so a 9-pin DIN that'll support your MDA CGA, because I figure a lot of people will probably use it for that. So you'll get that cable if you buy the cable kit, and then you'll get an additional ribbon cable that's already terminated on one end for the analog board, and then you'll be able to hook that up, to whatever connector. It'll be non-terminated on the other end. And that'll probably be like $10 or something.
Interesting, yeah, because I had purchased something, because I have a Tandy 1000 that uses that kind of CGA, EGA-ish thing, and I had bought something somebody made on eBay, and it's kind of okay, but it's got some weird anomalies, and the fonts look funky on some parts of the screen and others.
Is that the MDA to VGA or
could
MDA,
be? Yeah. It was $50. It wasn't a lot of money, and it's better than nothing. But if this works pretty flawlessly to straight up HDMI, that's the way to go.
Oh, it's night and day difference between that board. I've got one sitting.
So you're looking at $75 plus the cost of a Pi Zero, which is what, $5 or something?
$5. Yeah.
Yeah. And then this is like a Swiss Army knife of retro to modern things. So it's definitely a good investment. It's because kind of like there's a bunch of stuff we have that will convert like SCART to HDMI, and once you have that's kind of SCART to HDMI converter box, there's so many retro systems that have SCART cables that with that one box it becomes so versatile with so many things. This is a similar thing like that. Yeah, that's
very
awesome.
similar, and it's open hardware, and So I've just got two that I use. I don't need more than two. So I've got this one, which has the analog. Well, you can't see it. I've got this one, which has the analog board attached, and then I've got one that's digital that I use mostly for IBM output, and that's all I need. I can pretty much now. Of course, the more modern stuff it won't support. So it won't support color composite, for example. That's just too much information on one signal to be able to decode. For this particular hardware implementation, you probably need an FPGA to do that. And there are other great solutions already that do that. So what is it? What is this other thing? What?
FrameMeister?
Yeah, FrameMeister does it. RetroTink does it. I've got a RetroTink here that I use for color composite stuff. So, there are existing solutions for that, and they work great. And so, but this, anything up to monochrome composite, this works really, really well for.
Neat. Now, what is the connector? I didn't watch all of the video, but if you want to take this thing and connect it to a CoCo 1, for example, what are we tapping into on the CoCo itself?
So the CoCo, the way I did it, of course, there's always different ways to do it, but the way I did it was I tapped in directly to the video chip. The
VDG itself?
Not the VDG, hang on, let me bring this up and show you, because I think I've got a picture.
The 1372?
Yeah, the mixer?
Yeah, let me bring it up and make sure that I've got the right information.
Okay.
I don't want to embarrass myself too much here.
Well, don't worry, if you did, you'd fit in with the rest of us.
Yeah.
Let me show you. Man, I'm long-winded. Here we go. Let me share my screen so everybody can see it.
Okay.
Yeah, right on the VDG.
That is the VDG. Okay.
That is the VDG. I always get the VDG confused with the other one on the other side here.
The SAM?
The SAM. Yeah. That's it. Anyway, so that's how I did it, right? You could also, I did it quick and dirty. You could also probably better to attach those wires on the underside of the board.
Make a piggyback socket.
Or make a piggyback socket. So there's cleaner ways to do this, obviously. Okay. But yeah, that's the way I did it, and it worked fine. And now it's just the socket's just hanging out the back basically, and so I can connect it anytime I want to the if I want to hook up the CoCo 1 and get HDMI out.
Very cool.
Hey Aaron,
yeah.
One of our viewers, Can Make It, wants to know with the Retro Hack Shack, are you going to require phone numbers when you purchase items, and do you have a battery club yet?
I don't need phone numbers. I don't know if shipping requires phone numbers though. Like no, I wouldn't.
That's a Radio Shack joke. When you used to buy something at Radio Shack, they ask you for your address. And
all the time. Yeah, when you went up to. Oh my word. Yeah, that's a good. I didn't catch that at first.
So it's the battery.
Yeah, the battery club.
I will give you a free battery. Yeah, I'll give you a free battery.
That's cool.
Now you've been involved with the Makerspace for quite a while too, and I know like when some of the reboots of Tandy, I don't know if it's still happening. We were interviewing one of the people from one of the new Tandy Radio Shack stores, and one of their plans was to actually make maker, seminars and stuff at the store itself. So, Have you heard anything on that? Or are you involved with that as well? Or
I have not heard of that effort, but I know that I did see some stuff about it in the news. That they were potentially planning on doing that. One thing that's funny though, are the makerspace that I started here in town, when we were just moving into our first like permanent big building, right? Because before we were in this small little space and we were just kind of meeting and showing off our projects, and then we finally got a big space that we could use with lots of tools and equipment. And when that was happening, Radio Shack was going out of business. And we were looking for fixtures, furniture, everything we needed. And so we went down to Radio Shack, and during their closeout sales, and we introduced ourselves and we said, we'd love to get some of this stuff, and but we can't really afford it, because even then they were asking big money for those
30% off their 400% markup, right? So
exactly, it was crazy. I don't blame them, but it was crazy. So we said, we'd love to get some of this stuff. We're a local nonprofit, blah, blah, blah. And so what they said was, well, if it doesn't sell, you can come back and we'll give you either a real cheap price or you can have it for free. So we did go ahead and buy the component cabinets. So we have the Radio Shack component cabinets.
Like the drawers that pulled out?
The drawers.
Okay, yeah, that's
exactly.
Cool. Yeah.
So we have those at the Makerspace. So that's a little nostalgic. Yeah. And then when they finally did close down our local store, they did have a bunch of the rolling racks and the display tables where they put all the cell phones out and stuff. And so we got all of those. And so our, part of our electronics, probably half of our electronics area is kitted out with fixtures that were from the Radio Shack store.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Got some of the lineage there. I don't know how you're doing on time, and I don't know how we're doing on questions, but I figured just to be respectful of that. Does anybody on the panel have any questions for Aaron or anybody in the live audience right now? Have any specific questions about anything?
I was just going to ask, when you're looking at projects and you're looking at the CoCo, is there an aspect of the CoCo that you really like, or is it just because of the familiarity with it, or is there something about the CoCo that you just really that makes it fun to hack around with?
It's hard to get past the nostalgia for me. So everything that I discover about it, I'm instantly interested in because it was what I grew up with. One of the things I called out in my video is the lineage of the processor. How the same processor was, pretty much the same processor, right? Was used throughout the 1, 2, and 3. And I think in the episode I did with the 3, I talked a little bit about that and talked about how, it's similar to the 6502 in a lot of ways, right? The 6502, not similar design for the chip, but in terms of the lineage, how the 6502 was used for all these systems. And even like, the later Apple IIs and things, which you would think that the 6502 could never support and do all these crazy things that Woz got that thing to do. I feel like there's a similar situation here, and now being able to have a modern day replacement for that CPU, which is, much faster if you're running it in, native mode, I guess.
Yeah, 6 or 9.
It's a pretty tremendous story, actually. I think you would think that a company like Radio Shack or T&D would go out and say, "Oh, there's this other new processor. We'll do something different for the CoCo 3," but it ended up just building and improving the architecture. At least it seems to me over the years, and I think that's that's pretty amazing. Because it did have a long lifespan compared to some a other systems that were out.
Like a good
11, 12 years, I think, by the time they've been.
For a computer that was viewed, I think, by a lot of people as a cheap budget machine certainly compared to the Apple II. It did pretty well, at least as far as I'm concerned. And I think that's to Tandy's credit. They certainly could have done something else, and they tried lots of different things, but they kept it around for quite a while, and it seems like it did pretty well for him.
Yep. We do have a question from Karen in the live chat. He's a guy who created the XROAR emulator, if you're familiar with that or not. So he was asking about the Chroma A, Chroma B, C Chroma BIOS. He goes, when you feed Chroma A and Chroma B to the analog board, are you giving it Chroma BIOS and discriminating relative to that? I might not be saying it properly because I'm having a hard time reading this.
So that question is above my pay grade.
Okay.
I think.
It's above mine too.
Okay.
I'll just be honest about it. I'm not sure, but you could look it up. I'm sure on the support forum if you wanted to get that level of information. I'm sure Ian would be glad to have a chat about how he does it. The board itself uses comparators to figure out color and balance and stuff like that. It's got 2 comparators by default, and it could be fitted with a third one for the CoCo 3 because there's more color variance there. The palette is much bigger. Was it 64 colors?
Yes.
I think. So so it uses those comparators, but in terms of the BIOS, I'm not sure exactly how that works. I wish I did, but I don't.
And then Tim Linder was asking, what is the name of your hackerspace?
Benicia Makerspace. It's just BeniciaMakerspace.org.
Can you spell that?
Can I spell it? I live there. BENICIA. Benicia. B with a B as in boy. Benicia. Then just Makerspace. All one word.
Okay.
.org.
I threw that out in the live chat.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was also
It's a
going to
great
ask
space.
too. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's a great space. We've got a big laser cutter now, 3D printers. I think we have 4 3D printers. We have a big machine shop with all kinds of big, heavy equipment for cutting and bending metal and everything. And then we've got a wood shop as well. So it's different than a lot of maker spaces. A lot of maker spaces just focus on the 3D printing, laser cutting, and electronics. But we do all of that plus some, heavier equipment. Break out the hydraulic press from time to time.
There's a VCF near San Francisco that we've had the CoCo represented the last, when we actually had them still.
Yeah.
Have you ever been to those? And have you popped by the booth or anything?
I'll be there in August. I'll be there for this one. I haven't gone previously, partly due. I think last year's was canceled, right, due to the pandemic.
Yeah, I think it went virtual.
And then the year before that, I was really just getting back into the swing of things and meeting people that were in the vintage community. So I hadn't gone to that one, but I'll be there this year. I'm thinking about bringing my what do I call it? Throne of Code. That's what I call it. The Throne of Code, which if you're Game of Thrones fans, let me see if I don't know if you've seen this. I can pull up a picture probably. Yeah. But it is a chair that is like the Iron Throne, but it's built out of keyboards.
Oh, that sounds comfortable. Could you have done Legos? Maybe make a Lego foot carpet?
Now, does it got the really loud Alps keys too? Like, does it click?
Yeah, when you sit down, it goes click, 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 click. No, that's pretty funny. Let me see if I can find this real quick. But it is, I made it a while ago. It's actually been around the tech community because for my job, I go to a lot of these conferences and whatnot. And we actually brought it. It's been to Vegas. It's been to New York City. This was back when the show was in its heyday. But it's pretty cool. I added some LEDs to it. Last for whatever the last thing was. Okay, here we go. Oh, this is a great one. I love this picture. So we actually hired a woman. You'll see it here in the picture. Let me share this. There we go.
Oh, wow. She looks very much like the Dragon Queen. Yeah, that's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we hired her. So this was at a big conference. I don't remember which one this was. But it was in Vegas. And, we were trying to attract people to the booth and get people in and stuff. And so I said, hey, I've got this thing. It's relevant, right, for what's hot and popular right now with Game of Thrones. They're like, yeah, let's bring it along. So we shipped it out to Vegas and hired this woman who was great all day. She took pictures with people, really, really nice. And yeah, so I may bring that to VCF West.
Okay.
I may be selling it if anyone's interested in buying it because it's pretty big. If anybody wants that for their living room, let me know. But,
Throne of keyboards.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I'll probably be bringing that. I don't feel like bringing any. I don't think I have anything unique enough to bring to VCF West and show off. A lot of the people that I trade with and talk to on a regular basis, they're bringing their unique systems, their old systems, or whatever. I don't think I really have anything that interesting to bring. So, so I thought about bringing that and then just sitting around and talking to people and anybody that was fans of the YouTube channel.
Mark Overholzer, are you guys planning on doing VCF this year with the CoCo?
I'm planning on it. I've taken vacation time off from work. I need to schedule some
Excellent.
tables, but I haven't heard if anybody else is. So
we had a great CoCo contingent 2 years ago. So Mark Overholzer was there, Tim Lindner, Rob Inman. Who else was there? Michael Furman was there, and they had about 4 or 5 tables set up. And there was this something
Just
for.
two.
Was it 2? It just seemed like you guys basically had like a CoCo wing there.
Yeah, you had the Gimme X prototype there. You had CoCo
so many
there.
things,
Yep.
and so there were a lot of people who saw that were like, "Oh my God, I can't believe the CoCo is still thriving!" And there's so many things. There's just that's really cool. So I love it when we're able to represent our beloved underdog system to new groups of people that probably didn't know what it was or what it can do, even especially today. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So, Mark, you might have to borrow his chair there so people can sit down and have a game on at the Coco.
we need. Well, here's some Coco humor. So there were some questions saying, "Hey, can we get one with the Coco chiclet keyboard?" And then if you guys are familiar with the Coco 2 first generation one that had the melty keys, right? I'm just thinking, looking at that model there, she could melt my keyboard anytime, right? So yeah, look at that. So no, that's cool. It's a chiclet keyboard, the melty keyboard. Yep. So cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, that would be fun if there was enough of those broken Cocos around. You could build it out of Cocos, but I'd hate to do that.
All right, because they
can all be fixed.
Yeah, Coco keyboards.
That seems like a waste, but it would be kind of fun. It is, like I said, it is surprisingly comfortable. So
that does sound surprising. Yes. Yeah, so.
My hope for VCF West is the guy with the cowboy hats there again. So
we were pinning around doing something like this. Guys with their phones were kind of walking around, and we were live streaming it on the show. I'm like, talk to that guy. He's got a really cool hat, and we just grabbed him, and he was a really interesting guy. He's like, oh yeah, man, I got a freaking Apple One here, and I'm friends with the guy from Google, and so the random guy with the crazy hat that we talked to was one of the most interesting people of that whole event. So that was kind of cool. So,
that's funny.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't know. I don't want to keep holding you. I feel guilty, Aaron. So you're welcome to stay as long as you like, but I appreciate you've been in with us for an hour already. So, and you're welcome to stay as long as you like. But maybe we'll try to wrap up this segment, and then if you're able to stay and some more questions come up, that's fine. But anybody have any other questions for Aaron while he's here? Anybody in the panel? Anybody watching us live?
Would you be willing to do a quick little guest interview about VCF when you're there? If Mark and the boys just come up and say hi.
Of course, absolutely, yeah.
Live demo of the throne.
Yep, for sure.
And also feel free to ask us questions. I mean, I think you already asked some stuff on YouTube and Facebook and comments and stuff, but I don't know if you're on our Discord or not. But anytime you have questions for any of us, feel free.
You mentioned the Gimme X. I mean, I'm kind of curious what the status of that is, but
he's shipped out limited runs for people that kind of asked for them because was in the midst of moving. Plus, he was buying some equipment to actually make them. He's just getting all that set up right now, so it should be on sale within a month or two, officially.
Do you Discord? Awesome. You know what Discord is, right?
Oh yeah,
okay.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so we do have a Discord server. I almost said Disco.
Okay. There's a ton of hardware sections.
I was really hoping we had a Disco server.
Yeah, Disco server. That's right. Yeah, so we'll shoot you the link to that. It's so you can talk to any of the hardware gurus.
That's awesome.
I'm sure they're going to want to pick your
link.
brain. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'm sure next time. I always have these questions. Sometimes you can find them online. There's a lot of good Coco resources.
So we had a great suggestion here. Would you be interested in being a speaker at Coco Fest in November? We're doing a Coco Fest in Chicago.
Would I be interested? Yes. Would I be available? I doubt it, unless there was another conference for work that I could maybe, do double duty with. So let me see. Send me the information and I'll take a look, though. I won't say no right now. But, that's a long flight.
Stevie, go ahead and set up a work conference.
Yeah, we'll set up a work conference for you. So
if you could make it, cloud related, something with AWS or
it'll probably be cloudy in Chicago, so it should be fine.
Okay,
definitely be windy.
We'll say it's a long flight, but it's an even longer drive. Of us to drive to the show. So.
Yeah, definitely. No, I don't have any more questions, but thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. I hear the kids getting up. It sounds like they're waking up. So I'm gonna go and make some breakfast.
David Craker in our live chat right now says, "Thanks for doing this, Aaron. My daughter enjoyed your Ferris intercom video last week. She wants to watch the movie now."
Awesome. That's the second person that's told me that they saw my video and they introduced it to their kids. I had a friend actually come over and bring his daughter over to the house to do the doorbell, and no, that's awesome. I love to hear that.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for being here. Hang out as long as you can. We're gonna keep the train rolling, but we certainly appreciate it. So this has been Aaron with Retro Hack Shack, and he's on Twit and all kinds of stuff. The Makerspace again, BeniciaMakerspace.org, which we did post.
I should plug this as well, I guess, before I get off. Is my book.
Okay.
There it is, right there. You can kind of see it. Linux for Makers. It's a little long in the tooth right now. I've got to do a version 2 of it. But if you know someone who's into Raspberry Pi and doesn't know anything about Linux, but they want to do some projects, be a great book for them because it explains the basics of Linux, right? Like how the file system is structured, where you find things, what things do. It's just an overview of Linux from the view of a maker. So things that you need to know if you're going to go down the Raspberry Pi path.
Cool.
And that's available on your website?
There's a link on my website on retrohackshack.com. There's a link there, or you can just look it up in Amazon.
Very cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Very cool. And
awesome. I'm going to hop off, guys, but it's been great to see you guys. I had a great time.
Thanks for being here.
By.
Thank you so much.
We'll see you.
Okay. Well, we're back with the rest of the show right now. We are back to our gallery view. Oh, we've been joined by Boat of Car. John Schaller is here from the Amigos. Brian, the Music Man Shoebring, has joined us. George is here. Crikey, Nick Marotta's creeped in on us. I wasn't able to see all of the panelists when we were full screen. Excellent. Well, that was great. Thanks for making that happen, Curtis Boyle. Curtis Boyle is arranging. We got interviews in the pipeline. We got some things down the road. And so, Ron Delvaux used to be our wrangler of the celebrity interview, but I think Ron's starting to slip a little bit. Curtis is picking up the slack. So good job there, Curtis.
I started doing that, and then Ron kind of took over for a bit.
Yeah.
We're just kind of trading roles here once in a while.
We've just been joined by Mark Siegel, formerly from Radio Shack and Facebook. Hello, Mr. Siegel. Thank you for stopping by. We'd love to get you on if you'd like to join us some point in time. Love to hear some Radio Shack stories.
Some insider scoops.
Absolutely. All right, how about we're going to do a break here, boys and girls. And what we're going to do is we have some new to Discord. And then we also have, at the end of that, we're going to plug next week's guest again, our 8-bit era and our Infocom stuff. So that's our guest from next week. So we're going to see who's new to Discord, plug our special guest next week, and then we'll come back with Nick Marotta's favorite part of the show, which is the GameON Challenge, starring Nick Marotta. So we'll be back after these words, boys and girls.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Who's New to Discord This Week?
Please welcome SMH Seth, who got here by way of Malfunct and received his CoCo 3 from him. He enjoys any retro system from the mid-90s and earlier, enjoys playing games, but has been interested in hardware design and want to start learning various programming languages. Hopes to get the most from his CoCo 3 by being here and seeing what others are doing with their CoCos. He has a few micros and a lot of Commodore pets. Protein Thread Jeff says, on MeWe, I'm Jeff and I'm into a lot of retro systems. I just started a Discord server for classic systems. Fabrizio Caruso says, I am a developer of the CrossLib, which is a universal vintage development framework to code games on about 200 different vintage targets of any kind. I cover several architectures, specifically the TRS-80 CoCo 1 and 2, Dragon 3264, TRS-80 Model 1, 3, and 4, TRS-80 MC10, etc. HSI Jeremy says, now and then I bother L. Curtis Boyle in the Amigos Retro Discord about random stuff. What type of systems am I into? Ones I didn't grow up with. What do you do as part of your retro hobby? Bother people. Been listening to CoCoTALK for 2 to 3 years, I think. I learned about the CoCo on some retro computer site. Then I looked up YouTube vids and found the show way back when. What do you hope to achieve by being here? Getting my CoCo Pi running on my Pi 400 and finally digging into its library. Jerome says, hey everyone, I'd like to get a TRS-80 to experience it. I started my story with the 286, so I'd like to learn the classics that came before. From what I see, the CoCo would be the best bet. MJG Mike says, my first computer was a CoCo 3, which I used exclusively with OS 9. I'm into pretty much any older systems that run OS 9 or Unix. I have a buddy in Japan helping me score a Fujitsu FM77AV, and then we're going to work on finding an FM11 because they run OS 9 with a 6809. Mostly I code and enjoy exploring those old machines. Found out about the Discord server by watching Steve's CoCo videos on YouTube. I'm here mostly to stay in the loop with developments and resources for my CoCo. Matt BBX says, I know this is a CoCo server and I hope to pick up one day. I don't have a CoCo yet, but I did just pick up a Model 4 to restore. I have a thing for 80s computers. I also have an old Deckmate 3 that works, but the displays have all turned into nasty, weird goo. And as always, we'd like to thank Paul Fiscarelli, Data Soup Terry Steggy, and our CoCoTALK patrons for boosting the Discord server. You can join us on Discord by going to discord.cocotalk.live.
See y'all on Discord.
Hi guys, this is Stefan from Puddle Software. I create new Infocom style adventures for old machines, including the CoCo computer. Live on CoCoTALK on the 26th this month, and we're having an interview there. And if you guys are keen to learn more about my games and what I do and why I love the CoCo, just tune in. We're live on Twitch TV, on YouTube, or whatever media you like to. We're live everywhere. Just plug in, tune in, and I'll be sure to answer your questions.
All right, and we're back. So yeah, new to Discord. It's a thriving community. It's not just for nerds anymore. Everybody's coming in here. Excellent, excellent. I'm looking forward to next week's interview with 8-Bit Era. Stefan, learning all about his whole Infocom stuff that's running on the CoCo and the Dragon and all kinds of other lesser machines.
25 different retro systems it runs on.
Yeah, good stuff, good times. Nick Marotta. How you doing there, Nick Marotta?
I am doing well, thank you.
I know this has been tough for you, having to wait for the spotlight. You're just not used to that.
Yeah, I went and watched old episodes of the GameON to. No, I didn't.
All right, so this is Nick Marotta's favorite part of the show, where it's all about him. So the GameON challenge this week, we played a little game called PUA. And I believe there is a CoCo Thoughts. I believe Samuel Gimes was possibly inspired. I don't know if this is going to be a song parody. I know Ron Delvaux is a big fan of those. But we have a CoCo Thoughts that is possibly inspired by this week's game, and then we have the results. So let's see what's going on here with this week's CoCo Thoughts, and then we'll jump right into the GameON challenge results.
And now, CoCo Thoughts by Samuel Gimes.
Shoot all the wolves, man. You gotta save your piggy hide.
Yes, gracious.
Shoot all the wolves, man. You gotta dodge them so you will not die.
Oh! Very good.
Shoot all the wolves, man. You gotta save your piggy hide.
Go on, man.
Shoot all the wolves, man. Go switch the pallets to save your eyes.
That looks much better. Wow.
Wow.
Very good.
I am speechless.
Isn't that most of the time? Wow.
Oh my goodness. I am not familiar with the source material. What was that song parodying?
For the
Wolfman.
What was it? Yeah.
Who was it by? Who was that by? Curtis?
Well, James Jones says I'd like to apologize on behalf of the U.S. and Canada and to Burton Cummings in particular.
Yeah, Burton Cummings. There was a later one after Randy Bachman left the band. So this
was that by BTO?
No, it was by the Guess Who.
Okay.
After Randy left.
Okay, James Jones says it was called "Clap for the Wolfman" by the Guess Who. Okay, yeah, I was just not familiar with the source song, and it was cool. It fit well for the game.
Why should I have to guess? Aren't you going to tell us?
That's a funny story about they got the record contract and they had a name but they couldn't use it because it was used by some other band, so they just submitted it and just wrote "Guess Who," as to who they were. And
do you know who the Guess Who are, Stevie? They did American Woman.
I know the name of the band, but
These eyes cry every night.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. Hey, Explore has just joined us. Hello, John and all. Okay. Hello, Explore. Excellent. Okay, well that was cool. Thank you, Mr. Gimes, once again for your talents, and you're an endless pool of inspiration for us all. So we're going to go ahead and see what the results were this week, and then we'll listen to what we all thought about the game. So here we go.
High Score Challenge
with Nick Marotta.
Welcome back, everybody, to the results of this week's GameON Challenge. This week we played Puyan. There were 19 participants, and the scores were as follows. Bob and Coco with 6,200 points. Nico 68, 14,250. Joshua Craker 14,800. Rick U 15,200. Gary M 18,200. Coco Discord user 19,300. Rich N 20,550. Mr. Dave 6309 28,300. Polly How You Doing Fiscarelli 35,900. Arg, it's Alan Murphy 44,600. Paul Shoemaker 45,850. Jim Rye 48,100. Buck Owens 48,600. Sabhead 56,750. Canadian Retro Things 59,150. L. Curtis Boyle with 5 minutes before supper coming in at 80,400. TJB Chris, YouTube celebrity, 86,250. Hazman, 111,400 points. And the top score this week comes as somewhat of a surprise. Person we don't see on the top of the leaderboard too often. That person was, wait for it, David Craker. He pigged out with 131,650 points. Great job there, David Craker. Congratulations, and thank you to everyone who played this week, and we look forward to playing next week's game.
That's all, folks. Oh, very nice.
There you go. I didn't see that one coming now, did you? All right. Boom. Great job, David Craker. Yeah, when you see Buck Owens score somewhere in the middle of the list, you know something has gone horribly wrong in the universe, right? So, good job, guys. So, Nico, what are you going to tell us about Puyan?
I am trying to share. Hold on. What's going on here?
That is a great question. What is going on here, Nico? This is a professional show. Yeah. Your hair looks fabulous.
All right, there we go. Oh, thank you. Okay, here we go. We should be coming up now. Yeah, so I don't know if David Craker held on to that score, because I do know on the Friday we had a score by David, a score by Tasman, and then not long after we had the final score by David. So I don't know if he held on to that for the little surprise at the end.
I do have a quick question for you. Is it possible to get any more little icons down there in your taskbar? I think you've got room for some more there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least another row.
Yeah.
I've honestly never seen 2 rows of icons in the trailer before. That's impressive.
Thank you. I believe in using my computer to its full extent.
There you go.
All right, so once again, we have gameplay footage by Canadian Retro Things. Thank you very much, CRT. Check out his channel for retro stuff, including CoCo and other systems.
David Craker says great piggy production values. Thank you, David Craker. You're too kind.
Yeah, that was good. So yeah, Puyan, definitely not one of my better games. I was second to last this week, which thankfully I don't really, I'm not that competitive. So otherwise I'd be pretty upset. But yeah, this is a tough game. I made it to the bonus level. That's as far as I got. And then like the scoring after the bonus level. So, which for me is very good because I find this first level really hard. Because once those wolves get on the right-hand side, pretty dead. So but yeah, it's a good translation and definitely benefits from the palette change because the built-in palette's pretty hard on the eyes.
Yeah.
Not sure why they went with that color set, but
it can be summarized by one of the authors because he really liked that color set. And Steve York's talked about him before.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about that color set that he likes so much. Maybe he was colorblind.
Other than the background color, a lot of the other colors did kind of work. So you had the orange and the green, right? So the orange was kind of like the tree trunk and the green was the leaves.
Yeah.
So that part worked, but then you were just left with this really god-awful background color.
The white and the purple.
Yeah. So some of the colors made sense, but, you know, when you only have 4 colors to play with, you're not always going to get the 4 you want, right?
But on the other hand, the other color set, the green, yellow, blue, red, was perfect for Puyan. It was close to the arcade. Like if you've seen the patch that Nick and I did.
Yeah.
It's way closer. Like it looks way better.
Yeah.
I don't know why he picked this.
Yeah, it's creative license, right? So,
But he did like that color set. I mean, Steve's mentioned, I mean, he did Canyon Climber, same color set. You know, that was his favorite.
Yeah.
Well, this color set that he's using, this isn't the built-in one, is it?
No,
It
this
looks
is a palette hack, or
Yeah,
just
this is a palette hack.
I don't know which palette hack this is, though. That's not the one
This-
Nick and I
or it
did.
could just be
this
it's
is a
running
different-
in composite and not in RGB or something. I
This
don't
one
know.
doesn't look too bad.
No, not bad.
This is pretty good.
Yeah, it's just the contrast that when you have those really weird neon colors, they all kind of
the magenta, and cyan, and orange. And...
I think visually, great graphics, great port. You know, the whole sprite engine, how everything was just so smooth, and you know,
Yep, the little musical interludes, both at the beginning, at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never actually played this one in the arcade, so I didn't have any basis of comparison, but I don't even know if I knew it was an arcade game.
I don't
back
think
in
so
the
either.
day.
I think my first exposure to this was on the CoCo.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's strange. I actually did play the arcade one before I played the CoCo one, so.
Yeah, I guess it wasn't terribly popular.
Kind of
when
like in
I
the
was-
other one too, like Moon Shuttle. I never saw Moon Shuttle out in the wild, but I did play it on the CoCo, you know, back in the day.
Yeah, that one I had not seen in the arcade until well after the CoCo one. But Puyan I did see. It was semi-popular around here anyway.
Yeah, this one's a pain because you have to hit the balloons 3 times.
Yeah.
Unless you hit them at the exact right spot, then you can knock it off in one.
Oh, really?
What is that, like at the small
Very
peak of
top,
it?
I think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is
Oh,
it the
okay.
top? Okay.
I think. I'm trying to remember here, but
And then you got like the mega shot.
yeah, and then you also get the red flashing wolf, which will actually count as I think 5 wolves when you kill it, or finish the level basically early if it hits the ground.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did see him. I didn't know what his deal was, but I think I missed him, and I got 5, and then it ended up adding 5 more to the count.
Yeah.
What
there's different strategies. One question for all of you actually who's played it. You prefer the keyboard controller or joystick controller? Or have you tried both?
I only used keyboard. I mean,
I much
I
prefer
only
keyboard to this
I only use joystick, I should say.
Digital joystick.
Yeah,
I
like
think
even when I
digital.
had a Switch joystick, keyboard always worked better for me on this one. I don't know why. I was just wondering what you guys experienced.
I never tried keyboard. I should.
It's one of the nice ones too, in the sense that if you picked up a CoCo for the first time on eBay or something, it didn't come with joysticks. This is one of the games that you don't need them. You can play it on keyboard and it plays quite well.
Canyon Climber would do that too.
Yeah,
I think
and you know, Phantom Slayer, Invaders, Avengers, there's a few others because I know some people like what's the guy in Spain, the Irish guy in Spain. There, when he picked it up, he only had keyboard. He had no joysticks for a few months. He actually had sent me a message asking like, "What games can I play with keyboard?"
That 8 bits in the basement.
Yes, that's it.
I can't remember his real name now, but at least I remembered that. So, yeah. Yeah.
Tasman was keyboard or digital joystick.
Cool.
But yeah, I mean that little special thing there, which shoots across. Of course, it'll take all of them out.
Yeah, what is that called?
I have
super arrow.
I'd have to take a look in the manual.
Someone said it was meat.
Yeah, it's a hunk of meat in the
Hunk
manual.
of meat, huh? Okay.
To me, it looks like a corn cob, but
Yeah. Who the hell
All
knows?
the
And
wolves
then-
jump off their balloons to eat it.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh,
Ah.
okay. All right, we can go with that.
I assume it's not. I assume it's not ham. So that'd be
No,
in
just
bad
out of
taste.
curiosity, does this game take place in space?
Would have sold better if it did. I'm sure.
Wolves in, or the pigs in space. Yeah, right. So yeah.
That would be really good. Someone should
Yeah.
do that.
Just make the background of Starfield. It's an easy mod, and boom, it's a space game, right? So.
Commander Link, was that his name?
Yeah, just change the balloons to little rocket ships, and you're ready to go.
You know that was Muppet Show, right, Steve?
Yeah, the Muppet Show pigs in
Okay,
space. Yes,
good.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Just checking. Yeah.
But
So,
basically,
yes,
there's 3 levels. There's the first level, which we're looking at right now. There's the other, or sorry, this is the second level. The first level where you're basically just trying not to get bitten by the wolves on the right hand side. There's this level. Then there's also a bonus round, which basically it picks a random wolf on the left side and starts throwing fruit and vegetables at you. And then it'll always go in the same pattern. So it'll go down and then back up and then down, back up. So that particular level, my strategy is you only shoot when you're lined up. So you just kind of follow where they're going. And then you can get a big bonus if you get them all. But if you're constantly firing like you normally would do in these levels, you'll almost miss, at least a couple of them. You won't get the big bonus. So that was one thing. Deflecting the arrows down, if you hit the staff of a balloon on this level, of course, it'll deflect downwards and it'll take all the wolves out below.
Yeah.
So sometimes you hit the top wolf once to slow his balloon down to give you more time. Then you go up with him a little bit, and then you shoot to take out all the wolves below, and then you go and just have 1 or 2 shots to finish off the top wolf.
Oh.
Mark Siegel says this was one of the worst selling games on the CoCo. Really?
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a well-made game. It's sad to... Well, I think this one was only sold on cassette, right? This wasn't a cartridge, right? Did you have to get it through that catalog thingy too? I don't remember.
Nope, it was sold in the stores.
It was sold in the stores, but on tape. I don't know why, but maybe it would have done better if it was on a ROM pack.
Might have been too big for a ROM pack.
Maybe it wasn't a popular game either.
No, it's a very well-made game. It shows off the abilities of the CoCo quite well.
Like in the arcade, maybe it wasn't that popular.
Oh, just in general, it wasn't as popular as like your Pac-Mans and your other things.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't up at that level in the arcade. But like I said, in our arcade, it was semi-popular. It wasn't like the most.
As far
where
as
does the name Puyan come from? Anybody know where the name Puyan comes from? Like Chinese for pig or something?
It was who made it? Konami, right? It was Konami. What? Konami were they like an Asian base?
Japanese or something?
Okay.
Or Japanese? Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, could be.
Anyway,
we'll have our crack team get to the bottom of that. Somebody ask Siri or Alexa or something.
If only there was a website like Google that you could search on.
Clov.com will give you a lot of information in the arcade. KLOV.
Ken Reichert says that's Japanese for ham sandwich. Mark Siegel says out of Japan.
Yeah.
And Paul Shoemaker says it was one of the handful of games he bought for his CoCo back in the day.
Yeah.
It was a really good one because it had some variety of levels. It was an actual arcade official port, which we didn't get that often, especially in the CoCo 1 and 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was well made, and it's devilishly difficult. I found. I mean, I've tried playing it a few times, and I end up rage quitting because it's just like, really,
Yeah, it's hard.
Cue David Ladd soundbite here, right? Really, right? So it's just, yeah, I can't believe that's meat. It just looks like a big,
like meat to me.
Yeah. Okay.
But I never found the game that hard. I mean, I usually back in the day would get to the second or third round. Of course, the fruit or vegetable changes each time you get to a bonus round. And I think a couple of the high scores here on the GameON challenge actually got up to the third or fourth round of them. So
I don't know. I just had a hard time avoiding those things that the wolves were throwing at me.
The big problem that I have with this particular port is it doesn't seem like you have the same amount of vertical space
right
that you do in the arcade version or even the other 8-bit computer ports. Everything seems condensed down vertically, which doesn't give you as much room to operate.
Right, yeah, that could kind of put you at an unfair advantage because it's.
Is that because they made the sprites a little too big? Do you think, Vogt? Or
yeah, I think so. I think maybe everything is just a little bit bigger than it is on the other version. Of course, the arcade version, the sprites are big and beautiful, but if you compare it to the Atari 8-bit version, you get almost another, say, a quarter of screen real estate vertically. And maybe they wanted to fit it into that 4x3 mold a little bit more completely and not sort of cut off half the screen like you have to do with any sort of the vertical orientation games when you port them over. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't really played the other ports on the other 8-bit system, so I didn't really have anything compared to just the arcade.
It's kind of like trying to squeeze Donkey Kong into a 4x3 too. Like you had to do something. You had to either like take out a level or do something, but yeah, it does kind of put you at an unfair advantage as far as kind of real estate here to work with.
Or you might skip a whole row on Donkey Kong like most of the.
Yeah.
Not Donkey King. That was a really good port.
That's why I said it.
I know.
I've heard that's a really great game.
It is. Hey, John, yeah. That's...
Okay, Paul Shoemaker's asking, what's the deal with the red wolf? You're saying that one counts as 5 wolves if you hit him? So
yeah, basically, if you shoot the red wolf down, like if you got, say, 4 wolves left or something like that, and the red one comes, you kill him, then you instantly win the level as soon as he hits the ground. You don't have to finish the rest of the wolves individually.
Okay.
I know, Rick, is there an official explanation in the manual about that? I didn't read the manual, so.
No, I missed that part.
Piece of meat. Yeah, David Krager says it looked like a flaming arrow to him. which seems better.
It's funny. Everybody takes a look at it. It's a completely different thing.
Corn on the cob, flaming
it's a
arrow,
burger.
piece
It's a
of
burger,
meat.
obviously.
Right. It's just yeah. This is like we're playing Mad Libs right now, right? So no, but it's a good game. It's good.
Yeah.
I think this to me, this game is better to watch. Like I'd rather watch somebody else play than to play it myself because I always got frustrating. This is like a great spectator game if somebody's halfway decent at it.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of need Marty Feldman eyes so you can look to the right and the left of the screen at the same time.
Yeah.
I was really hoping the super arrow was Twizzlers.
Twizzlers.
Well, maybe it was. Oh, there was the red arrow, the red wolf. Yeah.
Scott Cooper in the chat says that it might actually be poo.
Poo.
Of the Puyan. There
That's
you
right.
go.
Here's the fruit round. So do you catch the fruit or shoot the fruit?
Shoot it.
Shoot it.
But you'll see it goes like top to bottom to top to bottom.
Okay.
It just goes back
Now,
and forth,
if
so
the
you can time them.
If the fruit makes contact with you, does that count as a collision and you lose a life? Is it this like similar to
No,
the
it just goes through you. You don't get any points.
Okay.
And you get 200-point bonus for each one you manage to shoot. But if you get them all, I think it's a 5,000-point bonus. So it's a pretty sizable one.
Nice. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that throwing fruit round before. I never made it that far in the game.
Yeah,
And then on later levels like this, you have more wolves to contend with to get through the level.
Yeah, they do that beyond level 1, Stevie.
Oh, really? Okay. Note to self. Cool stuff. Is there anything else we need to say about this? Have we said all there is?
Definitely,
to say
if you have a
about
CoCo 3 or a CoCo VGA, go get the patch version because the palette's a lot closer to the arcade. It just looks a ton better.
Yeah.
This isn't it. We're showing you here.
Oh,
But this is an all right one.
No, it looks good. It works.
It's acceptable.
It's all right. It's definitely better than the original.
It's not as good as the one we patched. Or
okay.
Nick Marotta, if you're on, who did the CoCo VGA patch? I can't even remember now.
Oh, that was I think it was Fedor. I think it was Fedor who had done that. Fedor came up with his version of kind of like what you guys did with the CoCo 3 games disc with the little menu to let you load games on different palette sets. I think that was Fedor who did that, but it's been a while.
Yeah, because that was really nice because that means people with CoCo 1s and 2s that don't have a CoCo 3, which are getting quite rare to find for affordable prices these days, can actually get some of these palette hacks that Nick and I did.
Very cool.
All right, we ready to move on to talk about next week's game?
The suspense is killing me.
All right.
Come on, word processor.
So next week, keep hoping. You never know.
Ooh, Pedro.
Pedro. I thought
This is
it
a
was funny
Dragon
that
port game, isn't it?
I don't know. Is it?
I had
660 will verify, but I'm pretty sure
I
it
had
is.
this as a kid.
I did
so,
too. I had it on the
Me
CoCo
too.
back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because not too many of the big Dragon ones got sold here, so maybe I'm wrong on that one. I thought it was one of the ones made in the UK first.
So this one, you're kind of like a gardener, right? You have to plant things.
Plant the flowers.
And then you
So
have
the
to
box
like
has-
get the bricks to prevent the bugs from coming and eating your garden, right?
You only get like one brick. So you can put a brick here, and that permanently keeps the critters from coming down. And then you have your pile of dirt here. With that you can build temporary dirt bricks that keep the critters.
Well,
but they eventually break their way through those. And so you have to survive. That timer counts down, so you have to survive the round.
Okay.
Having flowers left over.
Okay, so kind of like Missile Command, you get points for remaining things.
And your flowers do not get replenished. If you lose, like if you go to a level with only one flower left,
That's
you start
it.
the next level
That
with one
carries
flower. And
over.
you got to go. So you have to go pick seeds, and you have a certain number of seeds in your box and plant them. So you have to keep some flowers growing. As long as you have flowers, you continue.
There's
on.
a resource management component to this, yeah. And Karen is saying yes, it was on the Dragon. Imagine made it, and it says our version is way better than the BBC Micro version. So apparently this was on another platform too. Interesting.
And this is another one that's keyboard or joystick.
Okay, spacebar
this
or
was
fire button.
Farmville. This was Farmville before.
Farmville, right?
Facebook.
Interesting.
So that's our game for the week.
And this one, these colors work well, right? Because you have the green
Yeah.
is basically the
Grass,
grass.
yeah.
You got your
Red
bricks, and your little flowers. So yeah.
Yeah, this one's good. All right, so thank you CRT for the video. Thanks guys for taking part. Thank you Stevie for your video and for the letting me do the segment. And we'll see you next week.
Excellent. Well, thanks for the warning.
60 also mentions the music is kind of cool in this, like Cosmic Cruiser from the same company, and then he says, "Guess what it plays when all the flowers are gone." I have no idea.
Would
Karen,
it be
you wanna
like
tell us?
taps or something? The funeral march?
Yeah, I don't remember.
So I'm waiting for his response because he's got a bit of a lag.
Okay.
Where have all the flowers gone?
Where
That's a
have
song.
all the flowers gone?
That would be a good song to play.
Long time.
Is it played on a ukulele is the real question.
It should be. It can be. We can patch the game.
He says yep. So does that mean it was taps or flowers? Guess what? When all the flowers are gone. Which one? Which one is it?
We're on the edge of our seats.
Yes. Which one is
You
it?
must
Karen?
know.
Oh, we got it, but which one is it?
Which one?
got it.
We
Yeah.
gave
mentioned
multiple
several.
answers.
Now
Is
he's
this
just
like the
teasing
Guess
us.
Who again?
Oh, it plays Where Have All the Flowers Gone?
Oh, it does.
Wow.
Okay, it actually does play that.
That
okay.
is cool.
Interesting. That is clever.
That's a deep cut.
That is clever. Yes, it is.
I'm already busy losing at a round, so it should be any time now that.
Right. You're getting a head start on this. Well, actually, it's
No,
been,
I don't
it's been
even
announced.
remember how to play this game.
It's been announced, so you're not really getting a head start.
No,
So
it's officially announced. No insider information. Nothing was disclosed to me prior.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. All right. So we have finished our Game On segment. George J., are you still awake?
Yep, unmuted. I was sleeping for a while.
Okay. Have you got some assembly for us?
Sure do.
Well, we will. Yeah, I don't want to keep you waiting like 9 hours today. So how about we'll switch gears and we'll get into our next assembly segment, and then we'll follow that up with Game On News and Snoozy Newsy and all that good stuff. Is that okay with you, Curtis?
Yeah.
L. Curtis Boyle. All right. So we're gonna spotlight you, George J. And I think I don't know if you saw any other feedback, but in my opinion, I enjoyed last week's segment, as keeping it as basic as possible, pun intended. And I wish I had time to have worked through the example. I did want to work on that, but I still plan on doing that. But my real work got in the way. But I'm looking forward to more of these. I did also got your the editor that you're using, the whatchamacallit thing, the Visual Code.
Visual Studio Code.
Yeah, I got that going. That's kind of neat. So I've made a little bit of progress.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to share my screen here. Get going. There we go. Well, I hope everybody that was interested did at least look at the code from last week, because that was about as basic as we could get as far as putting something together. I don't know how fast to move along, but we're going to do something very similar to what we did last week. There's what we kind of looked at today. I mean, anybody have any questions about last week's assignment? I don't know if anybody even cared or worked on it, or.
I didn't get a chance to do the assignment. I was just wanting to try to recreate what you did by putting stuff on the screen in more than one spot. But I got as far as at least getting the environment set up.
Okay, well, that's a start.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're going to do something very similar this week. Instead of just putting 3 little things on the screen, we're going to do a whole screen full this week here. It's pretty much the same thing, just add a little bit more code. See, I want to bring up the code, okay? And I put the zip file out there with all this different code, both the basic programs and the assembler programs, okay, for anybody who wants to look at what we're going to do. I guess I probably should run the
yeah, and somebody had mentioned in a comment that when they're watching this live or watching the replays, it's hard to see where your mouse pointer is. And we're seeing that again right now. Your mouse pointer on the screen share seems very, very small. And that must be a Zoom thing, because we did try before we went live to address that and make the mouse pointer bigger. But it's back to being very small again. It's hard to see. So
and it's very big on my screen, because we did enlarge it for the show.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll look into it this week.
And I believe you. So I would just say, when you're getting ready to go over the source code, since people probably won't see where the pointer is, maybe you can selectively highlight a piece so we can something like that, just to give people a cue to where you are as you're talking.
Okay, this week we're going to just try to fill the screen up with different characters, as opposed to just poking a dot here and poking a dot there. So I've already got the basic program loaded in, so I'm going ahead and run that and show you what we're going to do. Okay, and I'm using a white background, white screen on the CoCo this week. It's easier to see, I believe.
Okay.
And this is our code here. Just each 16 lines, a different character on each line. That's all we're going to do this week. This is a basic program run, which, like I said, the code is out there, and then it sits there and waits for you to hit a key, and it's done. So let's quickly the basic code. There it is. It's not very long. It's got that same calculate routine where calculate where you go on the screen. You know, it's row times 32 plus column, and the same thing. Now, if you notice in basic, there is no locate command like there is on the CoCo 3. There's a print at command, but all it looks is for a number, like I want to print at position 10. Well, it just adds the beginning of the screen, the 400 or hex 400, and it adds 10 to it. So there is no row column, if you will, under the CoCo 1 and 2. So, but that's what we're doing here, so we'll calculate where we want to put something, and that's our same calculate we used last week. Okay. Cut it down there towards the screen begin plus the row times 32 plus the column. Okay, and then we poked it in. Let's, here's the assembler language version of it. Right, I put a series of variables to start with. Okay, there's our beginning of our screen, hex 400 or 1024. I saved that in SB. I'm using the same tag names as I did the variables over on the basic program, so it's maybe easier to follow. Then we're going to put our number of characters per line, our 32. We're going to save that in the width, WD. 16 number of lines or height. Score that in a variable called HT for height. Load our character we're going to put on a screen, which is the A, and save it in a variable called CH. And here's our same code from the basic program, our outer loop for j equals 0 to the height minus 1. Okay, because remember we're using a 0 base here, so we can't do the full 16. We go from 0 to HT minus 1 is the same as 16. Here's our loop, load A and store it in a J. So our J from 0 to, we're going to start J, keep forgetting to highlight these, and save it. Right, the outer loop, very first thing we do is go sub, which in the basic program, you'll see it in there, was to go sub to the calculate routine. Which I'm calling it print PRT-CHR, which here's our routine right here.
What does #0 mean when you're doing load A?
That's the direct. It's going to load whatever's behind that pound sign in the A. We could have done a clear A, CLR. A would be the same thing.
Yeah, the number sign basically means use literally whatever's after here. So this is load A with the number 0, not from a memory address.
And that would be, in this case here, they're one and the same, but is it then presumed this is decimal 0, even though hex 0 is the same? Would you have to do $0 if you want?
Yeah, because there's no dollar sign. Correct.
Okay. Yeah, they're both the same. And that's why last week I mentioned if you don't have if you don't have that pound sign in there, it's going to take address 0 on the computer.
And whatever's in the location 0 of memory. Right.
Right.
So
that will cause you headaches. So what we're doing is just, I left that in there because I thought it might be easier than using the clear A. We're going to actually load up 0 into the register and store it. This is our I equals 0 loop. Okay, that's that loop there. There's our I. We'll load it up and save that. Then we're going to calculate the position on the screen. And this routine here, we use this pretty much for everything for the next week or two. Take our current column and put it in register B. And we're going to clear A now, okay? This is it. We're inside the loop now, okay? So we're going to end up with, remember how we had D was a combination of A and B?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got, in the D register, we're going to have 0, 0, 0, 0, or whatever was in our I counter. We're going to add to that the beginning of our screen address. Remember at the beginning we put our screen address? at 1024 and put that in SB.
Yeah, screen beginning or whatever. Yeah.
All right, so now we got our current column plus the beginning, and we saved that off temporarily in a variable we're calling PP, or print position. Now we're going to use our outside loop, which had the J, which was for J equals. Okay, we're going to learn the current row, which currently it has a 0 in it. So that's where we started. Then we're going to load the WD, the width of the screen, or the number of characters per row, which is 32, and we're going to multiply it. Okay, so 32 times 0 is going to come out as 0, but that we have to get, we'll go to the step through the loop, it will be more. Then we're going to come back and we're going to add what we just saved up here earlier, the beginning screen position plus the column. We're going to add it together, and that's going to give us our final resting place for this character on the screen. Remember D, A, B, and D, remember them are accumulators, not index pointers. So we're going to transfer it from D over to register X, okay, which is an index register, which we can point to memory from there. Now what we're going to put screen, we're going to load the character. What we're going to use for the character is whatever that outside loop was, J. It has a 0, right? And we're going to add 65 to it. Remember what 65 is?
65 is capital letter A. So we're adding 65 to 0, which is still 65. So we're going to start off with the letter A.
Yeah, exactly.
On our first line. Yep.
And then we're going to store it at X, which we calculated. So we're going to store it on the screen. So in the very first position up there in the upper left-hand corner, row 0, column 0, we'll put an A. Then we're going to enter, here's our do next loop, okay? We're going to increment I. This is the inner loop, so we're going to update, increment it by 1. We're going to load that into register A, and we're going to compare A to the width, okay, which is the WD. We're going to see if we're done with that complete row, all 32 characters. Branch not equal, do next. Okay, we're going to do this through the next, and basically at the next loop. So we're going to go back to in loop, which is at the top of the loop. This is, remember, our for I equals.
Yeah.
And we're going to go through the same thing again. This time we're going to load, and it's going to have a 1 in the current column. Okay.
Because you incremented it. You did an increment on I, which was the variable, which means make I equals I plus 1 in basic terms. Yeah.
Yes. Right down here, we did that increment. We incremented by 1. So the next time through, it's got 1 in it. We'll clear. We'll add our screen beginning, and we'll store that off temporarily. We'll bring back in our current row. We'll go through that same thing. We'll take it, put the 32 in there. We'll multiply it. We'll add our screen address to it. And now what we end up is row 0, column 2. We're going to transfer that over to X. We'll load in the character this time. Okay. It still has that 0 in there. We're going to add to it, which again is an A, and we're going to store that into the next position. All right, we'll continue through with that loop, continuously going through there until we get down here to this compare. Once we get up to 32, which WD happens to be the width, it gets up to 32, it will be equal, right? If it equals, it will fall through here, and we're done with the subroutine. We're going to do a return sub. So we went through it 32 times, printed 32 A's across the screen. Now we're done with the subroutine. We'll go back up here to the outer loop. Okay, we did a branch subroutine to the inner loop.
Right.
All right, now we're going to increment J. Up here was J equals 0 to HT minus 1. So we're going to increment J. We'll load A up with J to see what it is, and we'll compare it to the height, or the number of rows, okay, which up there was 16. So if it's not equal to 16, we're going to go back. We're going to branch not equal to the outer loop, which is right back up here. Okay, do you understand that one?
We're basically going down. After we've gone across 32 times, we're going down 1. And as long as we're not at 16, which is the bottom column, then we're going to continue to do that.
Exactly. We're going to do that lower loop 16 times. Okay. So here it was, now J has 1 in it. So it's not equal to 16. We'll go up here and go back down to the inner loop. And the only thing, the inner loop's going to do the exact same thing. The only thing different about it is when we get down here, we're going to load A with J. J now has a 1 in it.
And now we're going to add 65 to that. It becomes 66, which is B.
Exactly. We're going to go through and do 32 of them. And we're going to keep going through until J gets to 16. And we'll fall through. We'll jump off to basic to look for, this is the same thing as $1 equals N key. If N key is not equal to quote, quote, keep looping. That's the same thing as that little routine you always put in your basic program. Once you touch the keyboard, get a key, it will fall through, return, and go back to basic. Okay, and let's go back here again, and let's wait.
So what we're seeing is the leftover of your basic program that did that.
Yep, I'm gonna let's say run again, and that's what it's doing. What we're doing, jumping through it.
And this is in basic. It's doing a lot of comparatives and stuff in the middle of all this. So
and it's all on floating point too.
Right.
Yep.
So
basic is last source. So I'm gonna break in that because that's not fun. Okay, now I've already got loaded in, so I'm gonna execute it. It's already loaded in so I'll do it in assembler language. There you go.
Poof, poof. Look at that. And then you have a wait for key thing in there, which is one of the questions I was going to ask you once I started getting my program, because I'm still on last week where you said, okay, you did something in the center of the screen, now do it in a few other locations. My brain is still trying to finish that request. And one of the things I was going to ask you or somebody in the chat was, how do you do like a pause key at the end of this before you return to basic? And that's in here. Where is that on line 40? Get help. Get character. So what is get character? Is that a ROM call?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's
it's
just
one of the few official ones that Microsoft and Tandy put in. If you look at the end of the basic manuals, there's a few little things like pull cat, which is pull. Well, there's stuff for reading and writing cassette. There's reading keyboard, reading the joysticks, reading a character like this. There's a few, not very many. There's a few calls you can officially
and honestly,
call.
that's probably going to be good enough for me for right now. But eventually, when I'm a little bit more feeling more like a warrior, I'm going to want to know how to do it all and straight up assembly versus borrowing from the ROM. But no, that's cool. That's cool.
This line in basic, $1 N key, and just you're waiting for a key to be pressed. Okay, then that is them 3 lines right there.
Yeah.
And that actually is the in key routine in basic. So
yes, it's basically the same thing.
Yeah.
It's literally the same code.
Yeah. And real quick, I just want to address a few of the comments about the quality of the stream on YouTube. A few people have been mentioning that throughout the show today. And honestly, I am not seeing it. I believe some of you are having some quality issues or some buffering issues, but some people are mentioning, well, I'm using a particular browser, and in this browser, YouTube doesn't look as good as Twitch. So I do apologize for those who are having some bandwidth issues watching us on YouTube, but I'm watching it on an app on my smart TV just to make sure we don't lose the stream, and I have not had a single buffer or a single loss of anything. So your mileage may vary based on your bandwidth and your browsers and stuff, but I believe most people will say that if you watch it on Twitch, Twitch has always seemed to be better for a lot of people.
Yeah, and we're simulcasting, so just pick the one that works the best for you at your location, basically.
Yeah, and then it was also mentioned, which we've also talked about, that seeing George's mouse pointer has not worked, but he is highlighting the text. So we are taking your feedback to make sure that this works well for people. And so I'm kind of following you, George. You're making sense to me. And
that's good. That's a plus, right?
Yeah, because I consider myself the target audience. But I'm sure there's going to be some people who are still a little bit, what is the X, what is the A? So this is the time to ask the questions while we're live, and also remember that this is interactive 24 hours a day in our Discord channel. We actually have a Assembly with George J Discord channel where he is going to post a zip file with the source code that you can look at. I encourage everyone, including myself, to actually get the source code into an editor and run it and see what it looks like, and then play around with it, and then start asking some, instead of completely abstract questions, ask some more specific questions. Okay, well, I've typed this in, and I see it's doing this, but why is it doing it, or how is it doing it, or if I wanted to do this, what do I do? That's kind of where I was getting ready to get with you, George. Was I wanted to do that demo and then ask you how to do a pause, because I wanted to print things in the corners. I wanted to do a dead center, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, get all the corners and center kind of painted with text, and then I wanted it to pause. So before we went back to basic, we did that. So you've kind of already answered my question.
And remember, this code here is not how you'd normally do anything, but it's trying to be able to just do the basic instructions and put something on the screen, or doing a poke. You know, we'll do print lines and print characters and get line stuff later on, but trying to get that basic to where everybody understands a little bit about routines and subroutines, and calculate and use the registers as little as possible. I don't know how far back we can go, because we're kind of down at the almost do nothing routines now.
So let me ask you this. What would the equivalent be of how would I peek what's on the screen? I would have to somehow increment something to figure out where I am on that 512 byte location from 1024 decimal. So assuming I know where I am within that 512 byte space, what would the command be? I'd have to jump to that address, so 1024 plus whatever, and then load that into A or something to know what's there?
Yes, it's funny, because I think that's what we was going to do next week.
Okay, all right, I'm getting ahead of myself then.
Briefly, you use the same calculate routine. Okay?
Yeah.
That's why I put on that one screen. Make sure you understand the calculate routine, what it's doing. Use that routine to go to some row, some column.
Yeah.
Right? You calculate the same way. And we at D, you transfer that D to X. Okay.
X is the internal comparator.
Right. Well, that's the index register. Your address ends up in X, and then you would do a load A or a load B, whatever's at X, and that's what the character's on that screen.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically, you point the X index register using the calculations we're showing here to figure out where on the screen you want to peek from, and then you do a load A, comma X, or a load B, comma X, which tells it, get whatever's stored at the memory location that X points to.
And then you would have to compare that to know what it is. Whatever's in A is that.
Yeah, compare A with 65. Is it a capital A, for example?
Right. And so then, because one of the things I wanted to be able to do as well is once I've put some stuff on the screen, I want to be able to maybe run my own routine to do a fast inverse, where I'm going to go through and look at what's there and then turn the black on green to green on black and things like that. So, once you put some stuff on the screen, then fiddle with it and, change the foreground and background, invert it and all that kind of stuff. So just some little silly things that which you'd be able to appreciate the speed of doing it in assembly versus doing it basically. If I had to peek and poke to invert the screen in basic, forget it. It's just like, I'll go.
Give them 3 lines here. Okay. That's that calculate routine. Okay. We calculated it. We transferred D to X, the index register.
Yeah.
If you're putting on a screen, we did a load A, that character.
Yeah.
The poke here. The reverse of that would be transfer D to X. Okay, load A. I'll even type it in. Oop, I missed it.
Comma X.
Load A, comma X. That would load it in there, and then here you could do your compare or whatever you wanted to do.
Okay.
That gets that character what you've had on the screen right there. That load A, comma X after you did the recalculate.
Okay. I know I'm getting ahead of you and getting ahead of myself since I haven't even gone as far as putting it on the screen. So, but I'm thinking ahead.
All right.
No, this is cool. I dig it. I mean, these past 2 weeks, what we're literally doing is, like I say, it's pun intended, as basic as we can do it. This is the program in basic. This is what we're doing in basic. This is how we do the assembly version of these basic things. No, this is really, it's as basic as it can be at this point. Yes, Alan, was that you?
Yes. So really what George is showing you is the core of the Nostromo game port that I've been doing.
Yeah.
At the very, very bottom of the game, it's drawing a 32 by 16 screen by putting values into the memory buffer, and then I go peek, essentially what you were just asking about, to find whether I've caught the character or not with the alien.
Yeah.
This is exactly that. So the way that George has approached it is really great in that you start with the calculate routine.
Yeah.
A memory buffer that you have X and Y control over.
Okay.
And with that, you've got a lot of the core of drawing quite a few of the games that you've seen.
And that's kind of where my brain is already starting to go, because I the Cosmic Aliens, even though it was graphical, I broke it down to basically a 16 by 16 grid. So I still treated the graphic screen as if it was fairly much a text screen. The Kabam is, you know, kind of 32 by 16, and the Kabam SG even broke it down even smaller to where I'm looking at like 8 objects times whatever. So I'm trying to simplify the kind of calculations on screen positions. And if anybody's even written a program in BASIC, which by this point I've done, you know, almost a handful, so I'm almost an expert. But yeah, so you have to, because the print at and the pokes are very linear, right? And I'm going to just think and speak in decimal right now, but if you're trying to poke something on the top left-hand corner of the screen, you're poking value 1024. Okay, well, what if I want to poke over, you know, to the center, which I need to add 14 to that to get to the 15, which is the middle? Then it's 1024 plus 14. It's kind of the same thing you're doing here. How do I move over on the column basis? You just continue to add 1. You start at 0. It's like 0 to 31. You increment by 1. To do that. But now what if I want to go down? If I want to go down 1 line, because the screen is 32 columns, I have to add 32 to that position, right? So
for each line.
For each line. So these are concepts I've had to deal with in my BASIC programs, and I've tried to come up with ways to like even preload these into lookup tables, where I've created like 2-dimensional arrays and loaded in the value of either the print at location or the poke location into a 2-dimensional thing, so I could still kind of still deal with things using XY coordinates versus the absolute position on the screen, but I have a table I can pull to know where that screen position is. So I've been dealing with this in BASIC in what I would consider somewhat hopefully clever or efficient ways, but the speed sucks in BASIC, right? So I'm really looking forward to blasting the hell out of this text screen in assembly and just doing all kinds of crazy stuff with it, because I know assembly can handle this 32 by 16 screen with wicked fast speed. So I look forward to doing some really fun, fast things on that screen for a while as I learn all this stuff, you know?
Okay, remember as I started out this morning, if you look at the bottom down here, review and make sure you understand the calc routine. Okay, you use that a lot for all the stuff we're doing to get stuff to the screen, whether it's BASIC or assembly language. If you understand the routine, you can get any place, you know, you can write it any way you want. You can pass it parameters, give it row, column, and it just go to this routine, a subroutine, and it's going to get you exactly where you want to go.
Right.
Regardless what it is, BASIC or assembly language, that's how you'll get to it, that routine. So make sure you understand the routine. Okay, I got another. If anybody else got any questions on that, we'll move on to the next screen here, which is going to be pretty much the same. I'll go through this one here probably fairly quick.
Well, before you go on, let's give somebody a chance to answer. Okay, so George just asked, does anybody have any questions? So those in the panel, those watching live, do we have any questions for George on what he's showing us right now, the whole multiply by, you know, add and multiply to get to the screen location? Anyone? And hello to Madrin Ariana out there in Twitch land. All right, no further questions, Your Honor. I guess go ahead and proceed, Mr. George.
Right, we're going to do something very similar in this next. Here's the BASIC program. Does this pretty much the same thing? Why don't we get maybe what we're doing here? Maybe if we just demo it. This is the BASIC program. I already got it loaded in, so you'll see what it does here. Okay, it asks what key do you want to display. I'm going to hit. Let's try the pound key. Okay. Same concept. It's just ask what key you want, and it will go and it will display that.
Ooh, this is like a custom CLS at this point here. You're going to fill the screen with a specific character.
Right now, it's sitting there waiting. I'll hit the space bar. Now I'll run it again. Okay, key do you want to play? I'll hit the space bar.
And now you're filling it with blanks. Okay.
Yep. So that's it. It's the same routines that are in the other one. It's just just as opposed to
rather than kind of force feeding the character, we're allowing it to be an input. So it's a user defined character that's going into the screen versus a code defined one.
Yep. Okay. All right. Here, the same thing. Here's the BASIC program. Which key do you want? Get that key. Convert it, or here if it's less than 64, that's that uppercase thing you have at BASIC.
Yeah.
We'll we'll do that, convert it, and here's all of our screen dimensions out there. And here we go right back to the same code we had in
the outer loop, right?
Outer loop, our inner loop, and down here, we're just poking whatever character they typed in as a put. Remember before we took the J and added 64.5 to it?
Yeah, and this here we're just going to give it what it is.
Same thing.
We're not incrementing it. Okay.
Same program almost over here in the assembler side of it. Okay. Here's the things that are different. We put a message out. We actually put a message on the board, okay, or on the screen that says input the character you want. Okay. Then we're going to do that $8 which is right here. Get your input character, and it just sits there and loops until you give it a key. Once you get it.
Okay. That's super helpful. That is super helpful. Those few lines right there. Yeah.
Okay, and here's the basic. If it's less than 64, we'll add something.
There
to
you
it.
go. You've already answered my question. How do we convert upper? Okay, compare A.
Yep. Well, if you look at your ASCII table too, you'll be able to figure that out and do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to compare it to that. Okay, if it's greater than or equal, we're going to say it's okay. Go around there. If not, we'll add 64 to it to make it uppercase. Either way, we're going to store it back into our CH, and from here on is the same as the other program was.
That's the whole going through the rows and columns.
Yes, the only thing different is what we store. We store that we don't calculate.
We're not going to continually offset that. It's just going to be a constant versus an incremental thing.
Exactly. Okay.
Okay.
And now when we say execute over here, oops, I need to click on that. Because I already got it loaded in.
Press that key to display.
All right, we'll do that pound sign again. There
Whoa, look how much faster that was. And I'm sure the way you did it is because we could take one of our gurus and say, well, I could do that. I could name that code in 3 lines, and I'm sure somebody else can make it blast on there faster. But you're doing it in a way that's comparing it to our nested loop within BASIC, right?
Yeah, there's
so.
You could streamline that code and make it quick.
Right, and that's like what the gurus would call an unrolled loop or something else, right? So there's many ways to
stack blast. There's a ton of things, but yeah.
No, but
I'm trying to keep it consistent every week.
Oh no, I love it.
And keep it easier to understand concepts where it's just very simple. Make a calculation. Where is the curve?
So how hard would it be to, when this is done, it just loops back to itself, where they can keep pressing a different key, and every time they press the key, it would just roll back around. So instead of
one jump instruction,
instead of it being an RTS at the end, it would just go right back to the.
It wouldn't be very many instructions. You get down there, instead of returning back to BASIC, we kind of jump back to the top.
Yeah.
Now, as far as if you want to do your clear screen, I hit enter again. I'll hit the space bar. Okay.
Boom! Look at that. That's fast. That's wicked fast, as they say in the New England area. That's cool. I love this. I freaking love this.
Right. I'm going to do one more because I don't want to keep everybody too long. Get them.
Listen, I'm on the edge of my seat, literally.
Everybody out there sleeping. Okay,
wake up, losers.
Right. Now, this one here will be load them in.
Character print number 5.
I got so many of these. I had to give them all.
You want the basic one, I think, this time.
I'll run this one here. You'll be able to see the code is almost the exact same code. It's just a little bit different. Okay, what do you want to do? This is which one of them 2 methods we did before? You want to print a different character or same? I'll press the D key.
Okay.
Okay. This is the basic program. Okay,
yeah.
It's the same. I combine them where it asks you some questions, okay? And then it goes off and does what you want to.
This is like watching paint roll down the side of a wall at this point. You know what I mean? It's just like
watching grass grow.
Yeah.
All right. Or if we say the same character, then it's going to ask what key do you want to display, okay? So you can watch this, going to print H. You don't need to watch all that. We'll do it with the assembler. We'll find out the different character, okay?
Ooh, look at that. Ooh, Nelly.
And we can do it. Same character. We'll say same character, and let's try. Let's just do a V. Okay.
That's fast.
Same code. Okay. I just asked some questions. Okay. And in here we were putting a line out. We went to basic to put the line on the screen. They're equated up here, and we went to get a character. Okay. Remember we did our equates. But if you look at this code and you look at the basic code or the other ones, it's going to be pretty much the same thing. Here, load up our message. Go over to basic and print a question. Okay, and here, this is the way you'd be doing this in basic. $B thing equals something or other. It's looking for the S or the D. Get character, branch equal. If nothing happens, it just keeps doing the loop. Sooner or later, somebody's going to press a key. And we'll store that key, and I called it OP or option. And normally in assembler language, you'd want more descriptive tag names.
But you're kind of matching the basic 2-character variable limit.
I'm kind of dumbing it down, to make it look like basic, okay, as much as we could. So if somebody have a question, you normally have tag names that mean something. Now we're going to validate our option. All right, compare A to a D. All right, if it's equal, we'll go to a routine called diff. Then we'll compare it to an S. For same it is, we'll go to a routine called same. And if not, we're going to go back up to start over again. Okay, we didn't, it put something else in other than D or S. We'll go back up to start one and come back down until they actually hit a D or an S.
Okay.
Right? If it was that they pumped.
That's like saying if A strings is not equal, if A strings equals S, then go here. If A strings equals D, go there. If not, go back to A string equals in key string.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if we had one here, one of them was if they put an S and went down here to a routine called same, right? If they put in same, we're going to put another message out on the screen. Said, okay, what character do you want? The $8 type stuff. We'll branch here again. We'll go off the basic to get the character. All right. Here's our other character, convert it over to a character. We'll do that uppercase thing we did in the last one, compare it to 64. It's greater or equal, it's okay. If not, we'll add it and make it uppercase. And when we're done, we'll go here to this character is okay, a routine. Earlier, if we typed in a D for different, we're going to hit this routine right here with a different one. And that's basically the same code we did back in the very first program. Remember where we printed A, and we upped it and printed the B and printed the C all the way down. The rest of the code down here is exactly the same until you get down to here. We got it all as calculated, our routine down here. Now we're going to load up B with the option OP. It's either going to have a D or an S in it. All right, we'll compare it to a D. If it's not equal, we'll branch off to do same. If it's equal, we'll load up our A. We'll add our 65 to it and store it in there. Okay. If it was not equal, it'd be the same. We'll just load whatever character they typed in earlier. They asked for a character, we'll load it in, and then we'll store it in X. So that took of both types, either the S or the Ds, actually put them out there the same way. The other loops in there, exactly. That's why I say you need to understand that calculate routine because it's the same anything you're going to do.
Yeah.
If it's basic or if it's assembler.
You know, it'd be awesome if there was like a 32-byte register where you could actually take the whole line of a screen and shove that in one place. That would make scrolling a lot easier.
Well, user stack.
Yeah.
6309 does.
Yeah.
If you got 32 characters, you could do a print line, but then again, you go to basic, and basic and printing anything is slow because they do lots of things. When you say print a character in basic, it does a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then down here was our messages we were going to display. Okay?
Press the key to display, same or different, yeah.
Yep, and same way press the key to display. So it's kind of all in this program. It just combined them last two programs just to add a little more touch to it as far as asking a question of the operator, what do you want to do? And once you figured out that they want to enter another command. So I think what you were asking before is kind of in these routines here. And if you want to learn something, type these in and play with these.
Yeah, beat on them.
And there's different things you can do with, in your own imagination, okay? Like we printed A through P on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
No, how would you print it something else?
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Change this here. Don't add 65. Add some other number to it.
Right.
And just experiment. The only way to learn that.
Right, and I think that is I think I've heard people say before too, like people who didn't know how to learn, didn't know how to write in BASIC, they would take one of the type-in programs, take what somebody else wrote, and then just see what they could do to change it and learn by accident almost, trial and error. So that same process and philosophy could apply here.
Well, it's like when I first got my first color computer one. I don't know if it was a D-board or not. But anyway, I sat down the very first night. I bought it at Radio Shack. I believe it was like $600 or something like that when I bought it back in 81 or 82. When they first come out, they didn't have a cassette. They didn't have a cassette recorder. So all I had was a little TV screen, probably a 12-inch screen, and a color computer one. And I sat up for hours writing programs for I equals 1 to 10, print I, and I did that stuff until I learned exactly what I'd never seen BASIC before. And I set up doing all kinds of stuff the very first night and couldn't even save anything. I just had to keep doing it.
I did the same thing.
That's how you learn. You just keep writing silly programs that did almost nothing.
Right. And the worst part was writing your opus mega lifetime program you've ever written in your life, and then having the computer lock up on your lose power and not having any of it saved.
Oh yeah, well, yes.
Save often, and then save again to be redundantly shown.
I'm gonna have to say, if you look at a lot of my basic programs down at the bottom, usually it's 900 if you're home, I'll have a printout and a save command. I learned that with that cassette. I'd be sitting there typing along and press something and screw it up. So before I do a lot of things, I just run 900, and it would save it for me. So I do that a lot in a lot of my basic. That's from the old days, I guess. All right, I got one more example for we go on. This is what we're going to work on. This is what we're going to work on. It also answers your question, what we're going to do next week, or I'm here next week. I'm going to execute this here. Okay, see that dot?
You put a semi-graphics symbol there.
Well,
oh my God, you're moving things. Oh my God.
Right, and we're not destroying the screen underneath it. I'm using arrow keys. Let's use colors here.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, we're just using the arrow up and down. And now,
what sorcery is this?
Okay, this here will be fun to play with once we get this far. So you really need to make sure you understand that routine.
Yes. This is great. This is great.
I was pressing 1, 2, and 3. This only works on a color computer 3, by the way.
Because of the palette hacks.
Yes, but you can't change the backgrounds and stuff like that. I'm going to go back to that one there, and I'm going to hit Q for quit. Okay. Oops. It wanted to do whatever it wanted to. But that's what we're going to work on next week. And after you get this one next week's, you'll get this code, and you understand the code. It's got the same calculate routine.
Yeah.
You'll see how it goes around before you just poke something to the screen, you read it off the screen and you save it.
Right.
So when you move the cursor, you can restore it underneath there.
You're putting it in a buffer somewhere because you got to put it back. So you're kind of peeking and poking.
You're saving that character. The next time you hit a key with another arrow key,
loads it back.
It's gonna put it back in there for you.
Right.
The thing. Once you get this, you play with this one here. One thing I'd like you to do, because right now there isn't, I don't know if that's a good word or not. There's no detection if you can run off the screen.
Oh, you didn't set any boundaries, any safe spacing. If it's greater or less than this, then
right. I didn't put anything in there for a reason. You get to work on it.
Okay.
It would just wrap down.
Yeah. At some point in time, it would be off screen. You wouldn't know where the hell you are.
Yep, and because what we're going to do is be able to check it by row.
Yeah. That's cool. You know what this is like right now? You're giving me like 4 or 5 things, and this is pretty similar to what I got on my ukulele right now. I think I know 4 chords, and I'm just having fun playing those 4 chords in different patterns. So now with these like 4 or 5 little tools here, there's so much stuff we can do between just blasting stuff up on the screen, moving stuff around, peeking and poking. And once you understand those, and then take it and do something on your own with it, it's going to be fun.
Well, as long as we stay at the same level, using that same calculate routine, which can be sped up and maybe really streamlined, but as long as we set on at that low level where it looks like the basic program, you understand that. And then you can start playing with the arrow keys or other keys on the keyboard. You know, if it's a T, you could do something else. If it's an R, you could do something else. You can change colors. You can do all sorts of stuff.
Right. Kind of like if A strings equals this, then do that. If A strings equals that, then do that. Right. So,
so that's what we want to get next week. I was going to talk about this include because that's going to be important, but that can wait till next week.
This is really cool, George. I can't thank you enough. I guess tomorrow's Father's Day, right? So for those of you, even if you're not a father, I encourage everybody, and I'm going to try to set the example. I'm going to try to dedicate my Sunday when I'm not having a steak dinner or whatever I'm going to do. I'm going to try to spend my Father's Day curling up with some warm assembly and playing around doing some stuff. This looks cool.
I did have one more thing on my list. I won't do that include thing, but I just right. Okay, our put character. Like we've been poking it to the screen.
Yeah.
You could also do a put character. And this is that basic unraveled that you can get on Color Computer Archive.
Yeah.
And this is the exact code that's in basic in the ROMs, okay? If you do a put character, here's where it comes to. It comes down here to address A282. You know, if you look at the when you say put character at A002, this is where it tells you to come. The first thing it does, it goes off. They got a whole bunch of hooks in BASIC because they could add extended BASIC, they could add disk BASIC, et cetera, et cetera. So they have a bunch of hooks in there where they could modify the code, even on a Color Computer 1 or 2. They actually put it down in low memory so they can modify it. But anyway, it jumps off and does a couple things and comes back to you.
It's kind of like a pointer that points to a pointer, right? So you can always repoint where one of the pointers is pointing.
Yeah, you can see here the address down there is down at low memory down at address 167. And all it has is another jump routine down there. I looked up, it has another jump routine, goes off to, I believe, extended basic or disk basic 1, 2, and does some checking. But anyway, I want to do this quickly, okay? You just said all you want to do is put something on a character on a screen that it counts, okay? Then it loads up the device number, okay? It does a couple other things.
What does that mean, device number?
Well, is it a screen? Is it a printer?
If you remember, print number sign -2
2
send to the printer, or print number sign -1 for cassette, and then 1 to 15 are disk buffers. That's what the device number is.
Okay.
Right, so it's checking. Are you going to the cassette? You going to the printer? Whatever. Okay, branch if not equal, send it to the screen. So it's going to go off someplace.
Oh, so it's really trying to check to see if you're printing to everything else but the screen before it prints to the screen.
Well, yes. Okay, I'm doing that for a reason to show you why things are so slow.
Yeah, no shit.
It goes to A30. A30. Okay, then it comes down here, put a character on the screen. After it did that, it saves some stuff. It's getting the current position on the screen. Okay, and if you look down in low memory, okay, down at 88, you'll see where the current, it's got an address in there where it's on the screen. It might be that your, hex 400 plus something is where the cursor is. Is it a backspace? No, it has to do all these things here. Is it a blank? Is it a carriage return? Okay, it goes through all this code. I mean, it just keeps going on and on. It may have to scroll the screen. If you put a character at 512, it has to scroll the screen. So it has to go through all these different routines.
Wow.
Okay. The point of it is that's why it takes so long to get something to the screen. And remember, everything if it has to calculate anything, it does it in floating point as a rule.
Wow.
Now there's an error when you look at there's always a lot of errors. So somebody interpreted all this code to break it apart, and I found out I put some question marks inside the one I saved because I was fiddling with the arrow keys and I wanted to double check. And right there, okay, it says this FCB, okay, or a character byte length, a 08 and a 15, okay. They're shifted, unshifted, and shifted values.
They're backwards.
They put the right arrow in there, okay. That should be left arrow.
And this is coming from the unraveled.
Yeah, but all it is, the code is correct over here. The comments are wrong.
Yeah.
Because I looked at this and I said, wait a minute, I've got something wrong in my code. Then I went ahead and I followed, okay, because 08 is also a backspace. They're but one and the same.
Okay.
Backspace.
Character string 8, yeah. It's a backspace.
Yep, they're the
So
same.
the left arrow is like the backspace key for all intents and purposes. Okay.
Yep, and a 09 is a tab key or a right arrow. So these codes. So you got to watch what you do in that code, because sometimes you get yourself confused, like I did.
Yeah.
And I was looking at my code to see what I did wrong, and I realized it was here. So I put question marks in it and saved it. Enough said about put character. Just wanted to show you what BASIC has to go through to do everything.
Right.
Everything they go through stuff like that.
And we're getting some questions from Protein Thread, who's actually new to Discord. We mentioned you new to Discord this week. So since you're in our Discord, Protein, go under the programming section in Discord. You have to scroll down about 16 pages. It'll take about a half hour to scroll down that far. But once you get under programming, we've got a Discord channel called Assembly with George J. And you can ask some of your questions there, and also links to setting up some of the environment is there, as far as picking your editor of choice if you want to use Notepad++, or in this case here he's using Visual Studio Code. And it was Blair Ledoux came up with the syntax highlighting extension for Visual Studio, so you can see the codes in the different colors for the comments, and also you get those kind of pop-ups on there. So make sure you check that out. Yeah, this is really cool. And so and it's like I've mentioned this before, because I have spent a little bit of time in doing other forms of education. But you know, if you want to learn, you can't be in the passenger seat. You got to be in the driver's seat and put some hands on this and start to wrap your brain around it. And so I think these past 2 weeks, in my opinion, have been the best two so far, because we are breaking it down and we're doing almost a side-by-side comparison of this is what BASIC does, this is how we're doing it in assembly. When is it going to make sense to me or anybody else is when we actually put it in our editor and we start, as George says, when we start piddling with it, right? So you got to just piddle. Get out there and go forth and piddle, right? So
there are some key building blocks.
Yes, build some key building blocks.
There are a lot of different things later.
Yeah.
I have a couple more things, but I know I've kind of done. We did everything on this page other than the include. We'll do that some other time. We did our put character that. The Visual Studio Code, I've had a couple, Blair and I back and forth, because I had put out there that it didn't work correctly with his newest versions. And he texted me and I texted him back. His works if you use his Explorer inside his program, but if you just double click on an assembly language program from no reason at all, it brings up Visual Studio Code. Using version 5 and above, it doesn't work correctly as far as the showing you all the key stuff, the
kind of tooltip pop-ups of what the hovering over the instruction. Yeah.
Right. So I fell back to his version 4, and it works fine. And I sent him off another text that he said he would check into it. So if you get using that there and you're not getting hovering working correctly, just fall back to version 4 of of his routines.
And it worked. Once I figured out what I was doing, it worked pretty well. And what you're talking about too is in Visual Studio Code, if you point to the folder that your source code is in, then you kind of see a little browser in the left-hand column of the editor. And then if you click on a file there, that seems to work better than trying to directly open the file through like File Open. So you kind of use the browser built into the editor to browse the folder and then click on the source code file.
Yes, and it works just fine. The problem is I have so many different routines over in other
folders. You don't have
I've got stuff for pop-up menus. I got stuff for swapping pages in and out. I got the school stuff here, the class stuff here. And I want to use something in another folder. It's very cumbersome to keep changing folders inside of Visual Studio. So I go over and I click on this one here. But anyway, that's just a heads up on that.
All right. Well, I'm going to try to devote some Father's Day time tomorrow to doing my own piddling in assembly. So that's my plan.
I had a question.
Yes, Brian, the Music Man.
How much relevance will this work underneath OS
9?
What was the question? I couldn't hear you, Brian.
How relevant is this to OS 9? And I think I know a short answer to that, right? Because the screen positions are mapped in memory different for VDG stuff. Like right now, we're writing directly to RAM, right? We're writing to the default location of the VDG start screen.
OS 9, it depends on how you want to do it, because you can do direct screen writes like this, where it's fairly similar, or you can go through the actual API calls, which are kind of like going through basic routines, except they're a little bit more optimized, and also are redirectable. So you can use the exact same code, and you can tell the shell to put it. I want it on a printer. I want it to a file. I want it to a modem or whatever else. You can just redirect with a greater than sign if you use the official calls. So there's a couple different ways to do that. And actually, Stevie and I have been talking about me doing an OS 9 assembler tutorial similar to this, and also maybe doing a basic 9 one as well. So we're kind of, we've got that kind of in the works. I don't want to overlap, George's stuff and distract from his series. So we'll figure out something. But yeah, I will eventually do a series that will kind of explain the differences and the different methods of doing it.
All right, and jump on Discord if you have more questions, or we can get more in depth. Where we're not going to make this a super technical Q&A while we're live on the air, but you feel free to ask questions and all that kind of stuff in Discord.
I would like to point out the incentive this is for learning your hex, because everything's a round number in hex. The screen starts at 400, line width is 20, A's at 40, uppercase or lowercase is 40 above that. So if you think in hex, everything comes out evenly.
Okay.
Well, I've heard that before.
Yeah, ultimately, and I do appreciate the fact that you are right now using decimal examples, so you're using 1024 and 65 for your A's and stuff, and that's good for the people who are used to thinking in basic and thinking decimal. But yeah, so the goal, if you want to become a more fluent assembly aficionado, is you're going to have to start learning hex, because that is the language of the CPU, right? So
yeah, and this is a nice gradual way to do it, where you can go with decimal,
Yeah.
which you're familiar with, and then you can kind of transition over
we'll
as
baby step our way into it. Yeah.
Anybody else?
Well, I want to say thank you, George, for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we got a thank you from Grant. I'm not sure to pronounce his last name, Blodau. It says, thanks so much for this series of assembly descriptions. I never understood it, and it's coming together with your help.
There you go. Yeah. Excellent.
Yes, thank you, George. These are great.
Indeed.
I'm not 100% sure about next week. I may have another commitment on Saturday.
Okay. Well, we also have another guest too, so we don't have to overload the show. We can keep the audience wanting more, right?
But at least you see what we got next week.
We know what the next project's going to be, next week or the week after.
Right, arrow keys.
I'm looking forward to that. The non-destructive moving of a character on the screen.
Well, you need to do your homework too.
I will, teacher. I will.
Bring an apple to the
I was
teacher.
going to say, I was going to bring you an apple too. Yeah. Okay. Excellent.
I never used it. Is it apple 1 or 2?
Apple one. Apple one is very rare. All right. That was awesome. Okay. So just a heads up to everybody on the panel right now. You guys are at the whims of my hunger pains. So we are at this point now, we are looking at, how long are we? We're like 3.5. When did we start? 1 o'clock, 2.5 hours, whatever it is. It feels like an eternity. Anyways, I'm starting to get hungry. So I can't see us going another 2 hours. Let's put it that way. So with that in mind, we're going to take a commercial break briefly, because Curtis needs to make sure his puberty sets in and his voice is clear and all that kind of good stuff. We're going to take a commercial break. We've got GameON news. We've got Snoozy Newsy, and then possibly project updates and acquisitions. If Brian Wiesler even just gives us a high-level overview of some of his acquisitions, that could be a 9-hour show right there. But we want to make sure we get to everybody. But I also would like to, it's coming up on 3:30. I'd like to be done before 5 or 5 at the latest, if not sooner, just because I'm getting hungry.
There's not a ton of news this week, so
okay.
that'll go by quicker than normal. So
yeah, and I apologize, but you know what? I get hungry.
Did everybody get this? Did everybody get to see my shirt?
Okay, hold on. Let me spotlight you and make that bigger, because you were muted before. Okay, there are 2 types of people in this world: those who understand binary and those who do not. Right. So that's a binary number right there. Right. So
I got it.
That's it. If you read that in decimal, it says 10. If you read that in binary, it says 2. All right, so there you go. Excellent. A little binary humor for you on the show here.
It says 16 if you're reading that in hex.
That's right. Okay, so commercial break. Let's find a commercial. Let us go forth and commercialize here. Let's see. I want everyone to play a commercial that we haven't played in a while. You know what? I have it. And it's gonna, okay, that's it. We're gonna run a commercial. We'll be back. And Hex, that would be 8, actually, is what Tim Franklin is saying. Because F is 8. F is...
Well, 110
F is 15.
110 would be 16.
16. I don't know, dude. I don't know. You guys are making me try to think in Hex. That's a scary thought. All right, commercial break. We'll be back after these words.
Here's a hi-fi bargain from your nearby Radio Shack store. Save $100 on our exclusive realistic 77 AM/FM stereo receiver. Only $159.95 during the sale. With audio component features like FM muting, push-button tape monitor, main remote speaker switching, in a genuine walnut veneer case. The ideal control center for your new music system. The sale-priced realistic 77 receiver. Only at Radio Shack, a Tandy company.
Tired of your color computer art input device being low res? Joey has you covered again. Switch between 3 joysticks or mice. Select the left or right port on your CoCo. No more swapping joystick ports. Switch between standard and high resolution mode. Supports the Tandy and the Mac's high resolution mode. Pre-order yours today at cocoman.biz.
The music is back. The MIDI Maestro available now, only from Retro Innovations. Go the number 4 retro.com.
Fletcher, I don't need that report tomorrow.
That's great, JT.
I need it tonight.
Oh, JT.
Fletcher saved over 300 clams, you dig, when she got her a Model 100 from Radio Shack, like a good little consumer. It's like a word processor, a phone directory, and dialer. You dig, man? It even can groove with your office computer. Fletcher? Fletcher. You'll go far, Fletcher. You'll go far.
ESP 8266-01 RS-232 TTL Wi-Fi network, 4-pin DIN, Fitbanger, DB9, PC IP, DriveWire. Oh, I'm much happier breaking stuff.
Hello, I am the speech and sound pack, and you are listening to CoCoTALK.
All right. Speech and sound pack. Don't get to hear from him too often. Far out, man. Well, L. Curtis Boyle, you got news. You're muted, L. Curtis.
I will do GameON news first.
No pressure, Curtis.
Yeah, you guys seen that?
We see it. Zaxxon.
Hey, that's coming later.
Okay. Who's this guy?
I don't know, but I believe he's on the panel, isn't he?
Holy cow, what a damn handsome man.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget Modest.
Yeah.
That lack of hair.
So the latest CoCo Show dropped this past week, and this was kind of a different one because you guys actually had to record it at an off time, so you didn't do it live. So I couldn't do my witty commenting during the show.
Yeah, we missed that.
So this week you covered Polaris, and I loved your intro on this, so I'm just going to play that, and then we'll cut it off and let you talk about it a bit. But
Polaris. It's stars in the sky. No, it's not. It's missiles. Oh my gosh. It's the CoCo Show 21.
So anyway, I just like that intro. So Polaris, of course, is the Missile Command clone that was put out by T&D Radio Shack as a cartridge. I'm pretty sure it was done by Robert Arnstein, the same guy that did Project Nebula and a bunch of other games for the CoCo that he didn't usually credit himself with for some reason. He was behind device-oriented games. So anyway, I'll let Vogt kind of just give you kind of a preview of what that particular episode's about, and then we'll talk about the live taping tomorrow.
Yeah,
Go
so
ahead.
Polaris is, I don't know how many home versions of Missile Command you guys have played on various platforms, but Polaris, shockingly, is the only one that I've ever played that actually gives you full control of the 3 different silos. Well, they're submarines in this version, but the silos in the original games.
Look at the graphics on the Polaris there. It's really impressive.
This is very different than the game that we play. But
Ad blocker broke again. God, yeah.
But I really liked. I was shocked at how good this was, because you're basically, you've got your Black Beauty, or I was using a deluxe joystick. You've got that in one hand, and on the other hand, you've got your 3 keys. I think it might be comma, period, question mark, or whatever, to get to launch the missiles out of your 3 subs. So it really makes you feel like you're playing the arcade version. Of course, nothing can beat the original, trackball in the arcade version, but having that analog stick, this is one of those games that you really need to play with the analog stick to get the full experience. I really like this one. I thought it was a winner.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that.
Yeah,
and it actually works pretty well with the trackball too, if you actually have like a Wyco or trackball.
Really good early CoCo game, pretty much spot on clone of the arcade, and it did a really good job of taking the 2 screens that had 4 kind of fixed colors, but taking those 2 choices of 4 colors and then kind of alternating the application of those colors to make a game on the color computer look as colorful as it possibly could be. It really mimicked what you could do on an Atari with palettes and things like that pretty well. So one of the best use of the limited 4-color screen modes that CoCo had with diversity, Yeah,
and it actually cycles through all 8 colors that the CoCo can do.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that I really liked about this too is that they definitely let you play a couple rounds before the difficulty starts ramping up. If you're familiar with the arcade version, it's pretty much you're pulling your hair out from the 2nd or 3rd stage. In this game, you can play 5 or 6 levels and still feel like you've got a handle on things, and then they gradually ramp it up. But it does give you a sense of accomplishment, so I appreciate that too.
Yeah, I like the sound effects too, like it's like it almost feels like it's ripping through the sky as your laser beam is going out, and then the boom, the kind of sonic.
Yeah, the explosion sound effects are very, very cool.
Yeah, good use of audio too.
And I mean the feel of the arcade game, because you had to strategize what silo you're firing from, because it travels at a certain speed. So if you're firing from the far right of the screen to take care of a missile on the left, it's going to take a while to get there. So you have to really shoot ahead. And plus, if you're on later levels, it's going fast, you won't even make it in time. And that's something that a lot of the other home ports that only had this big center one, like the Atari 2600 version and a bunch of others did, they didn't have that. You didn't have that strategy of having to shoot from what's the closest base to where this missile's coming. And that makes a huge difference with the actual gameplay and the feel, and it definitely felt more like the arcade game.
And the smart bombs are actually smart in this too. They do try to avoid and stay out of your kind of explosion.
Yeah, and they start fairly dumb, and they get smarter and smarter until they're almost impossible unless you completely surround them with missiles and shoot them dead center when you've wrapped it a few times.
Yeah,
the color sets, it gets really difficult. It does not have the planes and stuff flying across. That's one thing from the arcade it is missing. But it was a 4K cartridge.
Right.
So, I mean, it's...
And what's the other version of this that Round Delvaux really likes, where it's very similar?
Defense by Spectral.
Right.
I don't
but
think
that's more of the
Defense
Atari 2600 version.
Defense didn't have the planes either, I don't think, right?
No. But it was a simplified version where you didn't have to worry about the multiple.
Yeah, it was one button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was basically the clone of the 2600 version stuff.
Right. But it had a similar kind of audio-visual appeal where the sound effects were still pretty good and stuff. It didn't mix up the colors quite as much, but the sounds were on par with Polaris, I felt.
Yeah. So it's a really good review. They go through the game in extensive detail, and they have their usual witty banter at the beginning. Now, I did want to mention one thing here. The end of the show, you guys were trying to decide what to do for the next episode. Of course, these are pre-recorded well in advance. And Aaron had suggested Pit Stop 2. And then by the time you got to officially announcing on your Discord what the next show was, you'd forgotten that, and so it got changed.
Yeah, so ideally what we try and do is Aaron will pick a game, then I'll pick a game. And so I didn't have a game ready, and so he just threw Pit Stop 2 out there. But of course, we taped this, in the middle of last month. So by the time that we're getting ready to tape this next one, I'd forgotten. And so, but we're not going to do Pit Stop 2. We'll do that next month. The show we're going to record tomorrow will be T&D Color Baseball in honor of the summer season, baseball season in full effect here in the United States and Canada. So tune in. We're going to start taping around 2 o'clock. We're going to do our ZX Spectrum podcast first right out of the gate. But we'll probably get to the CoCo Show around 3 o'clock or so. So if you want to stop by, twitch.tv/Amigos Retro Gaming, or you can just, I think that you guys on CoCoTALK, I think you guys host us, so you can just tune in through that too.
Now, when you guys tape, what are you taping on? Is it VHS, Betamax, or are you doing something else?
Isn't it funny how we still use that verbiage?
Well, it's like, Xeroxing stuff,
Yeah,
it's actually photocopying, technically.
Ditto.
But you guys have a whole whackload of stuff tomorrow. You've got ARG in the morning.
Tomorrow is going to be a real marathon of a day. We're going to do our ZX Spectrum podcast, our Sinclair. We're going to do our Atari 8-bit show, which we call 1200 XL. Then the CoCo Show. And then we do a monthly Discord Q&A where people ask us questions. They leave it in a Discord channel, and then we basically record ourselves answering the questions called Ask the Amigos. So we'll be doing that too. So if you got no plans tomorrow, you can just leave us on and putter about the house while you're doing chores, and we'll provide you with some background noise.
And don't forget to also piddle in some assembly too while you're at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Ask Me Anything's actually kind of cool too, because when you guys first announced you were doing that type thing, I thought it was just going to be like, retro gaming questions, but actually it's literally ask you absolutely anything.
Thank you.
Yeah, people come up with some wacky stuff, I can tell you that. So,
yeah, it's always entertaining.
Yeah. Thanks, Curtis.
Yeah, and I'll just mention too, because you guys have actually specified, because some of our people here are also cross-platform retro. So your Spectrum show, I think you're doing Heavy on the Magic?
That's right. Heavy on the Magic. It's a really weird graphical text adventure game that is somewhat influenced by the occultist Aleister Crowley. And then 1200 XL, we're going to be playing Drop Zone, which is it's sort of like Defender for normal people. It's not nearly as
what do you mean by normal people?
Yeah, people that aren't super whiz kids at the controls. It's a little bit, it's a dialed back sort of broader version of Defender that adds some extra elements. There's a little bit more to do in the game. I really like Drop Zone. I'm actually kind of surprised that there wasn't a CoCo, at least a clone version of Drop Zone, because it appeared on so many different platforms.
There might be. I mean, because when Stevie and I went through Defender clones way back, even before CoCoTALK started, I think we found about 9 or 10 at that time. We found a few other versions since.
Okay.
So we might have to go through. I'll have to watch. I don't know what Drop Zone is like. I've never played that on the Atari, so I'll have to watch and see if it's something that we do have a clone of.
Yeah, it's sort of like, the guy from Jetpack, the ZX Spectrum or C64 game. Imagine you're controlling him instead of the Defender ship, and in addition to just, blowing up the aliens and saving the people, you actually have to pick the people up and drop them in the quote-unquote drop zone so they can be rescued. So
that kind of reminds me of Protectors 2 then, which is another one by Synapse that was on the Atari and the C64 where you had to rescue the people from the volcano.
Oh, okay.
That was approaching their city, and then you had a drop zone to put them after the second volcano erupts and stuff. It's pretty cool one too. So cool. Well, I'll definitely catch some of that tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay, and then this here is just the link for your general page.
Welcome to the Flavorhood, where flavor.
I just started out playing as soon as I came.
That's awesome.
Anyway, that's the well, my copy's not working. So that's the general link for your general shows on Twitch. You also have a secondary channel for the regulars, I think, which is more modern.
ARG Presents, if you want to see us play modern games and work a little bit more blue. So
yeah, and we've actually got a few people like Paco, David Ladd actually regularly joined you guys for some of those games too.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Okay, next up we've got an MC10 game from Jim Gerrie called Frogs. Now this is a port, but it's an old port. So the original one is by Mac Oglesby and was written in December of 1974, which predates the micro market basically, except for maybe like the Altair or something like that. From the People's Computer Company, Volume 5, Number 3, from December 76 is when it was published. And he describes it as a reversing game with 2 sets of pieces, and it's called Frogs. I don't know this game at all. I when I first saw the title, I figured, oh, a Frogger clone, and then I saw the date. No, I guess not a Frogger clone. So, and unfortunately, he didn't actually put the instructions. He has it built in the program, but he didn't show it on the video. So I don't really know. Has anybody else here played this and knows what's going on?
Are we trying to like guess match things? I don't know what the hell's going on here. I got a headache though.
You're flipping column positions between values to try to get them all the same.
So what are the two numbers then? Are you flipping two of them, or what is that number you're punching in? So 75 means flip 7 and 5.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
I have to go get that book out and actually read it again.
Oh, okay. So you've actually played this before, or at least seen it.
Yeah, I like all the People Computer Company stuff. It's a very odd publication that led to the very popular, 101 basic games book that everybody had. This is where all those originally came from, was People Computer Company. And they were printed like on, really, really cheap newsprint type paper with all these very odd drawings, just everywhere. Layout was done apparently while heavily medicated on a variety of substances.
This is very confusing. I don't know what the heck is going on.
They're trying to move the things around to. They're typing in the two numbers that switch the characters around. So 8 and 9 will swap. See the diamond in the space took.
Yeah, I know, but I don't know what the goal is. I'm not sure what we're trying to do.
I don't know what the goal is. I don't know what they're trying to make it line up to.
Yeah.
So when you run it, hit enter and read the instructions.
Okay. There you go. All right.
Anyways, that's the latest there. Now, the next two here, Cuthbert Dragon, of course, who does the dragon plays on his real dragon with his almost shuttered but not entirely shuttered window behind him, which is what that white bar in the middle is.
Wasn't somebody responsible for getting this guy a curtain, a blackout curtain?
Yeah, we're trying to get him one here, but
need to get that GoFundMe going for that.
This first one, we've shown him before, but I think we did High Retro Game Lord's version. Now, he didn't really know what he was doing on it, so he didn't get too far. Cuthbert actually does know how to play it, and he actually gets through it. So this is where I've discovered this game is actually a cross of two arcade games combined. So if you remember the original Karate Champ, which the Dicom did the karate version for the CoCo, where you have the two head-to-head combatants. And then if you remember Kung Fu Master, where you're going side-scrolling, and then you have to like kick knives and stuff, and you have to go up and down stairs and go between the levels and rescue the girl. So it's a kind of combination of those two things here. So I'll play a little bit here. So I'll skip ahead. So this part you probably recognize,
right?
And it's
got the
side
by side. Yeah, this is the one where the background music made the game far too choppy. Oh, that's cool. Fight. I like the referee in the middle there.
Yeah, because they're attempting to do the multi-voice music at the same time they were.
Yeah, very choppy.
But if you go ahead a little bit here,
With the bar, it looks like they're doing limbo.
Yeah.
Now you get to try your luck in the corridor of death.
Corridor of death. Oh yeah. It's ambitious with the background music, but jump. All right, if
and this one, it's a little choppy, but it's not too bad.
So as long as you kick it once, you're okay, because it still looks like it's going through him. You have beaten the opponent. Now try another. You're beating this opponent. Okay.
Yeah. That comes wraps back, but the guy gets tougher, and you have to knock him out a couple times, etc.
Like the
but
background
it's kind of
stuff.
an interesting hybrid of the two arcade games merged into one. So you got your money's worth on this one.
Absolutely.
And the second one here, I actually was asking Sixie about it because I know nothing about this game called Tanglewood. I suspected maybe it was Australian because it looks like you start with a kangaroo named Bruce, which you can see in the upper left corner. But he actually says it's a wallaby. I'll just read what Karen sent me basically in a private message here because I had no history in this game.
Oh, it's not private anymore now, is it?
Yeah, it's going to be public, baby. Okay, so let me see. Tanglewood, your first character is a wallaby. Looks like a kangaroo to me, but okay. But you don't transform or anything. You can just swap between 4, later 5 different characters to do different tasks. So those different characters that are shown on the left, I believe, are the ones you can switch between depending on what part of the game you're in. And apparently there was a later port of this to the Amiga and the Atari ST, but they rejigged the premise so you were mining robots on the moon or some such. possibly because this game is a bit too close to another game called Will o' the Wisp, which I'm also not familiar with. Both of you encountered that in your Amiga?
I've not heard of Will o' the Wisp, no.
Okay.
Could be
And he said,
like a space game cell.
and he also mentioned that Will o' the Wisp was also a TV show, cartoon, I'm assuming in Britain. And he also said, sorry, I really like Tanglewood, though I've never completed it. So apparently there's an end to it, too. It's not a forever game. For your information, Shark, which is the guy in the top middle there, is the evil property developer that wants to bulldoze the woods, and the owl gives you clues. So this is a mashup of genres, not just like the two karate games. It's a mixture of a bit of a text adventure game. It's a bit of an Ultima style Wander the Map game, but it's also got some like scrolling platformer stuff to it. So it's like a huge hodgepodge of stuff here. I don't really know how to describe it. Sixty can probably explain it a heck of a lot better than I am. So this is the outside map part.
Oh,
and
wow.
You can see you're wandering around.
Yeah.
Roads and everything else. But you can see there's text scrolling on the top there.
Yeah.
And you also type in commands there too. So you can actually type in words to do certain features. And here now you're in
a
one
platformer. Yeah.
Yeah, now you have to wander down these ladders and avoid things. And like I said, Sixty can probably explain a lot better than I can.
By the way, wallabies look like kangaroos, but they're shorter. They're only like 3 or 4 feet tall versus 5, 6 feet tall.
I guess, yeah, I would get relative to the other shapes there, but I just immediately thought kangaroo. That's why I thought it was.
Now he's back out in the world map. So every now and then, as you go through the world map,
now he switched characters too. He's no longer a wallaby.
Oh. No, this is.
I was flown. So I'll just fast forward a little bit till he gets to one of the other parts of the game here.
Yeah, this is interesting.
And here you typed in the word enter. I don't get you because it doesn't understand your command, but it actually does have a text command.
Oh, yeah, guys. It's kind of the opposite of your normal graphics adventure where the graphics are on top and the text is on the bottom. This has got text up top. No, that's neat.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah. And Karen's in the live chat now saying basically there's an overworld and some other sections, some of which are platformy, some are text adventure-y. Towards the end, there's also some 3D adventuring. Wow.
Okay, I didn't see that on this video demo. So, Karen, you might have to make us a video demo. Anyway, it's a really interesting game. It's an interesting mixture of different genres of games that I've not seen mixed together before. Text adventure with an Ultima style plus a platform. I've never seen all that in one game.
Yeah, that's neat.
On any platform that I can think of.
Seems to work though.
Yeah. And the palette's pretty good. I mean, it's doing outside, so green for grass, yellow for roads, blue for water, red for bricks, etc. So it uses the palette well.
It's like Mario, where you wander around on the island and then you duck in somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's one I'm definitely going to want to try at some point because I've not seen anything like it. And he said it is from the UK. It's not an Australian one, at least from what I understand. So I know I'd asked Nick about it before because when I saw what I thought was a kangaroo here, I was asked, this has got to be an Australian game. So you know what this is, right? And he goes, no, I've never seen it before either. So
you never seen a kangaroo before, Nick?
I have. I haven't seen this game before. And a wallaby does look very much like a kangaroo.
Crikey.
It's only a miniature version.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Karen says at nighttime, the frog can go on the roads and various other little interesting bits. Okay.
Yeah, it looks complicated, but it looks like it's potentially quite a fun game. Very unique at the very least. Next up, we have Richard Kelly on the Facebook CoCo group, who is highlighting another CoCo 1-2 game from T&D Software magazine, which is the old cassette-based magazine that actually ran for quite a few years. And this is from near the tail end of it, and it's a CoCo 1-2 game called Mazey. So it includes some screenshots in the comments, which I'll show you in a second here. And I think it's an original game. I don't think it's a clone of anything. And he kind of describes here your goals to gather 4 machines, overcoming technical hurdles called moths. It's a constantly changing maze. I don't know if he means it changes on the fly while you're in it, or if it's you wander between screens of the maze. Enemies popping out everywhere. So the text screen intro is kind of boring, and here's level 1, a little bit more exciting. So this is what the actual game
graphic-y
kind of looks like there. And I'm assuming the red's your ships here, and you're going through and probably eating the dots similar to a Pac-Man style game. But with a much more complicated maze, and there's different levels with different walls, etc. He said the monster spawn in this particular level is actually in the center, so trying to get these little middle ones cleared out when they can just come out and get you is pretty difficult. Or brutal, as he put it. So it's a game I've not tried, and I haven't had a chance to try it since he's posted the link here. But if anybody else here has tried it, if you want to make a comment, if we haven't, then maybe somebody can try it for next week and kind of give us some feedback.
Cool.
And then the last one here, RetroMantra is the title of the YouTube channel. They did a comparison version of the various versions of Zaxxon for the home computer and including the arcade game. Now, one thing they did a little bit different here that I've not seen too many of these comparison videos do is they actually have the Dragon version separate from the CoCo version. So the CoCo version is using the artifact colors we're all used to. The Dragon version is actually using the P-Mode 3 palette, as it would have been played. So get prepared for that. So here's, of course, the original arcade version here.
All right.
It's quite familiar. Here's the ColecoVision version here.
Version, yeah, not bad.
The Intellivision version, which is,
Oh, right. That's really good.
Yeah, like it's... You wouldn't know it's not the arcade game, right? Just to give you an idea.
But it is 3D, it's just not isometric.
Yeah.
And it has the shadow, so that's good.
And you can tell the Atari 2600 version is kind of based on the same thing.
Yeah.
And then here's the TRS-80 Model 1 and 3.
Which is actually surprisingly good. With the shadow.
Yeah, they tried their best given the limited res here. Nick, you had a Model 1 and 3 back in the day, or Model 1 back in the day. What was your opinion of this one?
Oh, I didn't really like it because it looked very, coarse. It's well done, but I think it was pretty...
You think they were trying to push the envelope a little bit too much?
I think they were going too far, yeah.
I do have to say the space scenes actually look pretty good on it.
And, oh, yeah. Yeah. Surprise for such low resolution, this is like our CoCo SG4 screen, for such a low resolution, they're doing surprisingly well.
Yeah, yeah. I think you can get used to it if you played it for a while. It's not something I would jump to right off the bat. But... And here's the Dragon version, given the color set that they have.
It's not completely terrible. I thought they were going to use the green background one, which would have been...
James Garon must have, requested that from Steve or something.
It's more like the original pastels.
Flying in the white darkness of space. And of course, the CoCo version with artifact colors, which is what it was designed for. So it's a lot better. The Apple II one, which is actually a surprisingly good one. Sound effects aren't that good. Let me turn that up.
Yeah, Apple II is surprisingly good.
1-bit sound.
Yeah, but they actually had because this one I believe required 48K. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. But it actually had the extra sprites for like a ship rotating and tilting, which the CoCo version, which I limited to 32K, didn't have enough room for with page flipping.
Yeah, most people max their system out at 48K because they want to run DOS and stuff. So needed the RAM.
And here's one Boyle will be familiar with, I'm presuming.
What is this?
It's a lot faster, you'll notice.
Sorry.
Yeah, the Zaxxon on the Atari 8-bit was sort of it was one of those killer apps in terms of the speed that it moved at.
Yeah, they did a good job in this one. It's nice and quick. Of course, here now you get to see another ugly palette, the IBM PC with CGA.
Oh wow, and the sound is amazing.
1-bit sound again. I think Apple did a better job with the sound than the PC.
Yeah, this is god awful.
And one of the few palettes that rivals ours for being the worst.
Right.
And then the MSX version, which
nice.
is character tile based. You'll see it jumps quite a bit between frames.
Yeah.
Not sprites. But colorful wise and design wise, it actually looks pretty good.
And it's got refreshing background music, which the original didn't even have.
Nope. That was just a kind of a droning.
Yeah.
Now this is a system I'm not familiar with, the SG-1000. I'm not sure what that is.
The SG-1000 was Sega's first console.
Yeah. Oh, that was even before the Master System?
Yeah, it was before the Master System.
And Sega's the one who made this game, so Sega is the property owner here.
Here's one for you, Vogt, the ZX
It's
Spectrum
tile
version.
based too.
Oh wow.
Okay. I mean, it's not so bad. it's
It's bad. Not so bad.
As far as bad things I've seen, this isn't the worst.
It's colorful. You can always say
Yeah, it's
that
colorful.
about
I will
Spectrum
give it
games.
that.
Yes.
I don't know what the big N's or Z's, depending on what angle you're using that at, what those are. Oh, missile launchers, I guess.
Fisher Price does Zaxxon.
Fisher Price. Interesting.
Here's a C64 version by Synapse.
Not bad.
Yeah, that looks great.
the raising of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now the C64 had two versions apparently. Here's the Sega US Gold version, which actually looks better.
Oh, interesting.
It's like the graphics are closer to the arcade style. Now, I haven't done too much research on that in Vogt. I know you guys have kind of talked about Zaxxon on occasion. Do you know why there was two versions for the C64, two official versions from two totally different companies?
I really have no idea. My only guess would be that there was a licensing agreement that expired, and then another company snapped it up. That's the only thing I can think of.
And decided to rewrite it, so
right.
It was better.
Okay, that looks good. And Wide World of Retro says C64 rules. It was a licensing issue. That's why.
Okay.
Oh, and Karen's bringing up Zax's son on the Dragon, which we were actually more complimentary on that one than he was expecting. So yeah.
Yeah, we did cover that one, which is one I had.
Which it wasn't bad, honestly. I thought
it was better than that Zaxxon, which is the second CoCo one.
Yes.
That one, the perspective, the angle was wrong.
But the difference here is he's covering official ports versus clones, right? So
Yes.
we didn't have an official Zaxxon for the CoCo and the Dragon. Cool stuff. I like these.
So that's the end of the GameON news. So I'll stop sharing.
All right, let's just keep it rolling, and we'll go into news. Yeah. Snoozy,
pre-roll episodes.
No, let's just keep it rolling because I'm getting hungry.
We're going. Okay, so let me switch back to sharing.
No, you can continue your nap there, Mikey. It's snoozy newsy time. Glen Hewlett.
Yes. Now, Glen Hewlett, of course, is famous for doing the Pac-Man transcode. He's been working on the Defender transcode, which he demoed at the Fest a few years back. He's also working on a Joust transcode. If you're noticing a pattern here, that's because there is one.
Williams stuff based on 6809.
Williams 6809 based games,
Yeah.
basically. He's been working on transcoding the CoCo 3. So in this case here, he did something a little bit different. Now, most of the time, if you want to do smooth animation of sprites, etc., on the CoCo, you would do page flipping because it's the easiest way to do it. You render a scene on one screen, you display that screen to the viewer. In the meantime, you're on a second screen drawing everything, which might be masking stuff in and out. You'd see the flicker and everything else. Waits till the entire screen is done. Then you just change the pointer to say, okay, go display that screen for the user, and I'll start redrawing the first one. You just flip back and forth. So the person playing the game only ever sees the fully finished drawn screen. So there's not a bunch of crap being drawn live while you're doing it. Now, you'll be able to tell in some of the older CoCo games that were a bit more memory restricted, like a lot of the 16 game games didn't have enough room to do that. So you'd see some flicker because they're literally redrawing it on the screen while you're looking at it. So this was a common problem on some of the older systems, and the Atari 2600 was famous for only having enough RAM to do one scan line at a time. So what they did is to eliminate flicker and stuff was that they would time when they're drawing based on where the scan line on the actual CRT tube was. So you'd wait till the scan line goes past, with the part you want to draw, then you draw it, because then it'll get refreshed at 60th of a second later when the raster beam comes back up and starts redrawing that, so you could eliminate the flicker. So what he did here is he actually wrote a little demo for the CoCo 3, but basically he's doing the same thing. He's doing animation of sprites moving around with background music tied into the FIRQ on the CoCo 3, with a moving star field working at the exact same time, but he's not using page flipping at all. This is all one live screen, and he's timing everything basically in chunks. He kind of explains it here. I think he did in 4 chunks. He divides the screen to 4 sections, and then if you're drawing sprites or anything else, you draw it on the part that just went, or it's just before where the scan line is. Basically, you do that chunk. So it eliminates the flicker. So this is kind of his article writing up exactly what he's doing and explaining how it works, and the fact that it was used by the Ataris and others too. And he's also got, if you want to take a look at it, there's actually the source code for it here and a downloadable bin file for it here on his GitHub site. So the link will be posted there. But here's the actual demo itself. I'm going to play not quite the whole thing because it starts repeating the same pattern, and the music's basically the same here. So I'll fire it up and you guys can tell me what you think.
And Mark, Overholzer, I don't know if you saw my chat before, but if you could just be posting links only in YouTube, because Restream is doubling up links and we're seeing it twice. That is really cool.
Yeah, I'm only seeing those on the Restream console, not on any of the Twitch.
No, I'm looking at it right here on the live feed where it went through Restream, and then it's also showing up as I'm a Coconut.
Oh, right,
So,
right,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking into how to fix that.
So just post it in YouTube, and it'll cross-pollinate.
So you can hear the digitized sample playing
Yeah,
in the
that's
background.
really cool.
the
These
Fire
look like
routine.
ray-traced orbs.
Yeah. But the thing is, the smooth animation with no flicker, this is being done on one screen live. There's no page flipping, double buffering, none of that. And that's not a technique you
Man,
see
this
too often.
pattern
with
is
Coco.
mesmerizing, too. You get star shapes and circle shapes and all kinds of stuff. Super mesmerizing.
Yeah. So it's a nice little 128K demo, but it also demonstrates this technique, which was pioneered basically on the Atari 2600, which was most commonly first used. But a lot of the later graphics machines, including the Coco, that actually had the ability to have more than one screen, that you could just switch which one you're viewing, kind of went away from doing it this way. But if you want to make a game that wants to fit in less RAM, let's say you have a game that normally would take about 150K or 160K to run on a Coco 3, you'd have to upgrade past 128 to do it, because you'd need enough room for two 32K screens to be able to render and page flip between them. And this basically reduces your memory footprint by 32K, because that entire 16 or 32K screen is no longer required. You just need the one. So you can actually write a more complex, more detailed game or graphics demo, like in this case, that requires less RAM.
Now, is
So
there any of the hardware scrolling going on here too? Is this all?
No, this is all just being drawn, rendered, and he's just timing
Okay.
when he's drawing everything based on where the raster beam on the CRT is at that time.
I like 60's comment, chasing the beam, man.
Yeah, chasing that beam. No, this is cool. I'm glad to see Glenn active again. It's been a while since we've seen him. He also posted an email recently when we started the assembly series too, with some encouraging words for me. Trying to get me the nudge to get going. So thanks, Glenn. Thanks for all you have done and are continuing to do now.
Yeah.
This
And he mentions here that
Pac-Man was awesome.
the demo is inspired by the old Amiga demo called DOC. I've not seen that. Boat, have you seen that particular one? Or? Nope. Okay. And it's a pretty cool technique, and it's pretty cool that he kind of has a blog that explains exactly how it works. Now, Nick, I think you said you know of this technique, but you wouldn't actually use it because it's harder to program for, because you do have to do this timing as to when you're drawing things, and for you it's just easier to do the double buffering.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is good, but depends on the game, what things are moving, how they're moving, and the double buffering to me seems easier.
Yeah,
than
and plus,
having to
I mean,
fight
your
with-
games now, you've kind of gotten rid of the whole 128K. I have to fit it in that.
Well, yeah, 512K should be enough for anyone.
Minimum standard for a Coco 3.
Anyway, source code and everything else is there. Go grab it if you want. And
Great.
the disk images also.
Great
If you
job.
wanna download, just
that
try it out.
demo is extremely mesmerizing too. Love it.
Yeah, I've ran it both on VCC and on a real Coco 3, and it runs fine on both. So it should be able to run on an emulator or real hardware. Next up from Jim Brain, and Nick, you might have some comments on this too, because I think this is related to your project with Jim as well. So this is the FlashPak, which he's talked about before, which is basically 512K flash ROM that you can actually image the ROM from the Coco. It's like the SDC. You can load it up yourself. And it has a built-in MMU style bank switching hardware, which is the same thing that was used in RoboCop and Predator cartridge, which is to make a cartridge beyond 32K. So it supports that if you want to either duplicate them or if you want to write your own ROM-based game that has the extra memory being used. And this works on the Coco and the Dragon, including the MMU hardware swapping built in the card itself. So you can actually make a huge ROM cartridge game for the Dragon itself. So this was his initial announcement on Facebook. And then because he does everything with, freely available open hardware design.
What was the toggle switch for, and did he license permission from Jason Reichard to use a toggle switch on this project?
I think that's the auto exec for the ROM.
Oh, to disable the pin 40
I
or
think
whatever?
so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, the project files here, if you want to actually build this yourself, you can. You don't have to buy it. But he also has it available in a multitude of ways on his store here. So you can pick as 4 different options. If you want just the board itself and you do all the sockets and chips and add it yourself, it's only $3. Unassembled kit, which contains all the pieces, but you have to put it together yourself, is $15. The assembled kit is $25. And if you want it with an actual case included, which you don't have to take a picture, but it's $40. So that's like the full, end user version
Like
where
a
you don't have
ROM
to do
pack
anything.
case, yeah.
And then some of the details here too. Now, Nick, I believe this is the same flash ROM that you and Jim are working on, the extended version that adds the MP3 player to, correct?
Yeah, it's based on that same circuit. Yeah. So it banks of a 512K flash memory. You can bank 16K at a time from that RAM in the CoCo space. It does need software to do it though. If you notice there's apart from that switch, which is only a normal toggle, there isn't any switch in there, I think, that allows you to select the banks of memory. So the banking is selected via software. So I haven't seen this package that he sells, but I assume he's got a program which gives you a menu so that you can select what part of the ROM to bank in and then run it. You'd have to talk to Jim to be sure.
Okay. And I was going to ask you, and I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but I know Jim's, under the same problem that Aaron talked about earlier, where, hardware supplies from China are just unreliable right now because of the chip shortage. Has he given an indication when the MP3 enhanced version of this is going to be out?
No, I think he's waiting on parts and
same as everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we've got it pretty well all worked out, but he's just getting finalized boards.
Okay.
Yeah.
So hopefully he'll have that out later this year then.
Well, yeah.
And then you have a product that will work with it.
Yeah, I already have.
Is that been officially announced yet or not? I can't remember. I think.
Well, I think I might have mentioned it. It's Gunstar for the flash ROM that uses the MP3.
Yeah, when in that case you're gonna have like an entire musical soundtracks for the.
Well, there is, but the Gunstar game will be bundled with this MP3 cartridge anyway. So you're not buying the game, you're buying the flash the FlashPak from Jim. And you just happen to get the Gunstar with MP3 track.
Nice.
And but the flash memory part is based on the FlashPak, and I've written the software so that you can actually put multiple programs onto the FlashPak, and not just ROM programs, ROM cartridges. You can take any disk-based flash program. Like I've converted most of mine old games already to run off the FlashPak. So it's not restricted to just ROM cartridges being converted to run on the FlashPak. It can be made to work with other things, and that I do have software that I have almost finished to do that.
Yeah, because I remember you showing me some early demos of it where it actually brings up a menu and says you've got Popstar, Pilot, and Gunstar.
Yeah, Popstar,
installed.
Pilot, and
which one would you like to play?
That's cool.
Yeah, it comes up with a menu. You just pick the game and it just loads it up.
I would like to play Global Thermonuclear War.
Well, yeah. I think I have shown it on the show.
At
some point. Yeah.
Yep.
And you've also got an editor for allowing the programmer developer to select which ones they want to put onto the cartridge too, and actually load them up.
Yeah, I made a tool mainly just so that I could use it, but I've made it more as a product, part of this cartridge, the MP3 cartridge, so that a developer could use it to put their software on the cartridge as well.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So we've got both the basic flash cartridge here, where you can actually load up your own ROM images, or any assembly language programs, basically, if you set it up right. And then there's an enhanced version coming out later as well that adds the MP3 player chip with a little, what is it, a micro SD card or something with the? There's
a little, for the MP3 files, because they're pretty big. Most of the MP3 files are bigger than the 512K. So, and they're proper MP3s, they're playing at the full 44 kilohertz. So they are they don't sound like a resampled version for the CoCo. They are the original MP3s that get played during the game under the computer's control.
Now, does it have a real-time clock?
No, that's the only omission.
All right, I'm going to hold off for that version. Okay. All right. Cool. Very cool.
Next up, Ken at Canadian Retro Things did a Nitrous 9 EOU, first time he's ever used it. Now, of course, since it's EOU, I'm going to play the entire 14 minutes and 45 seconds and screw the rest of you guys. No, I'm just kidding. I'll just play a little bit of the intro.
Talk about your snoozy newsy.
I'm Ken. This is CRT. Welcome to this episode. Now, for quite some time now, I have been interested in trying to take a look at the Nitrous 9 Ease of Use Edition.
Big mistake.
But I've been a little bit hesitant about it because it just seems...
Is this like vaccine hesitancy, this Nitrous 9
complicated
hesitancy?
to me, I guess. I'm not sure why I've been so hesitant.
There's a lot of anti-OS 9ers out there.
Day, I'm just going to jump right in.
Well, they're all wrong.
There's a big highlight later on in the show anyway.
The trash can?
Well, I discovered it really is. It's very simple to do.
Spoiler alert.
So I decided that, well, I'm going to make this video, show you how to download the Ease of Use Edition onto the...
So anyway, he goes through, he does it in two things. He shows you how to set it up on VCC, so you can run it in the emulator. And yeah, actually, he shows a little bit of how to set up VCC itself, because you'll want to have the multi-pack and the hard drive controller linked in and the floppy drive controller, and then how to mount the disk images. But it's pretty simple. Then he goes through how to do it in the SDC, which is basically just dump the hard drive image on the SDC and then run it from the SDC Explorer. So in this case, because SDC Explorer actually recognizes an OS 9 boot, you just hit enter and go. So it's dead easy. And then he's running it. Now he's running it in composite.
Boom, look at that trash can.
Look at that trash can. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, I was actually going to point out, like, the artifacting colors. You can see, like, the blue and purplish fringes on the sides of the scroll bars. But you notice a trash can, for some reason, shows up perfectly.
Perfect.
So I didn't realize that Nick liked composites so much.
Yeah, you know why? You know why
he made sure it worked.
You know why that trash can looks as good as it does? 2 words: proper design.
And ease of use.
That's it. All right.
So he doesn't do too much here. He just basically shows how to fire up the GUI and then how to jump into directory stuff. But he said he's planning on doing some more videos. I've actually got a link to this video now directly on the Nitrous 9 EOU project site too, so that other people can discover it if they just want to learn how to set it up.
This is kind of a boot camp. This is a nice little boot camp video, how to get things going in the emulator or real hardware. Yeah,
and I mean, obviously my instructions weren't too bad that I include with it in the text README file, because he figured how to do it, and he didn't ask me. He didn't questions. But this is a lot easier to visualize, I think, than doing it.
Yeah, thank you, Ken.
So I look forward to seeing more future videos from him. I hope he does like an hour special, and then I'm going to take over the show for that entire hour. So
nice, can't wait. Take one of my paid leave days that day. So
1 hour sleep on.
I'll even take an unpaid leave for that matter. So yeah.
I will show that he did manage to get Dexter to run though.
So. Yes. That's a great demo because it's a game people will understand and plays very well and very quick.
There we go. So it loads it up.
Woo! Look at that.
And boom.
Boom.
And it was just point and click.
Now, I don't know if Ken's discovered multitasking yet because he didn't actually mention at all that you can hit the clear key and go between windows. Because, I mean, even when you fire it up, there's like 3 terminal windows set up. There's a 40 column plus the 2 80 columns. And I don't know if he realized that. He just started, so we'll see what he discovers as he goes. Next up, in the MC10 group here, so Robert Sieg, and we've spotlighted quite a bit lately because he's been almost as active as Jim Gerrie, but he's been really having a lot of fun with the Alices, the French, originally a clone of the MC10, and then they expanded with the ALS32 and the ALS90.
Getting very ZX-y here with the color attributes.
Kind of, yeah. So, of course, the ALS32 and higher actually has a secondary alternate video chip that has the VDG modes, and it has 1480 column support. And he's just been learning how to program now. Ironically enough, this is his very first assembly program he's ever made up for an ALS32. So he's at the beginning of his assembly language journey, just like Stevie is. And, the series with George. But this is how to do, attribute bytes and colors and stuff for the text screen on the Alice. In this case, a 40 column or 80 column screen.
And similar to what John Lowry did recently, too, showing how to throw up an 80 column CoCo 3 screen with the attributes and stuff, right?
So, I mean, the Alice actually looks like a pretty fascinating. I've heard some comments, or read some of the comments here from people that are more familiar with the Alice than even Robert is. and they said it's a little bit quirky the way some of that stuff works. It's not the most obvious way to do screens and stuff. I'm not sure what the details of that are, but I'm sure Robert will find out and post about it, so we'll discover that.
I'm wondering if the Alice computer is a big fan of Jerry Lewis.
Wasn't that?
I think that's the other guy.
Wasn't that the wife of one of the honeymooners too?
Yeah, that was the To the Moon.
Yeah.
Okay, no, this is French. You know how the French are fans of Jerry
Jackie
Lewis.
Gleason.
Yes. Okay. All right. That was. Okay, we missed that one. TRC to CoCo 2 on an iMac G3.
Yes. So these next three were all Pedro, who was on the show earlier but had to go.
Pedro.
So
yes.
Some of the stuff we've kind of already covered with the interview with Aaron, so I'll breeze through those. This was not one that was mentioned on it though. But this took two of his retro projects and combined them into one, basically. So in this case, he's got an CoCo 2 using the RGB to HDMI combined with an HDMI to VGA converter. So that's using the board that Aaron was talking about and Aaron will be selling shortly. And then hooked it up to his iMac G3 DV screen. So I'll fast forward just a little bit. We kind of explains the hardware, but I just want to show what it looks like.
I want to use my iMac.
Look at that. Look at that. It's a CoCo on a Mac screen.
So there it is.
It's like a repack, you know?
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know. Quick program.
And I'm sure Aaron would say this is the best use of a Mac he's ever seen.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's Aaron from the Amigos, not Aaron Newcomb.
Hello,
but actually,
iMac.
Gives a nice picture.
Yeah.
It goes through and explains everything. So I'll let you guys watch the video
As you
for
can
that.
see, there are sparklies on the screen.
And this was done before he figured out that problem with the
Right.
developer of the HDMI thing, where that sparkly problem is now fixed.
Okay. This is so cool seeing a CoCo on something else. Flawless HDMI picture.
So this is one of the ones we talked about with Aaron on the interview with Aaron here. So this is his CoCo 1, and this is where when he hooked up this this board, the board that does the HDMI, it actually came out crystal clear, like pretty well right off the bat.
Right. Now you notice what he's using. He's got those kind of little tap things that just tap onto the stuff where he's not actually soldering it.
The RGB to
Yeah.
HDMI solution. I
A
decided
temporary one you can
Yeah.
easily remove.
just like I saw on the
No
retro
burnt
hack
hair
shop,
involved.
Aaron Newcomb.
Look at that. Artifact
A little bit of
colors.
tweaking, probably a minute of tweaking, but I mean the results are,
Very nice. That's a very nice solid
Amazing.
blue.
which tells me that they're, that the CoCo 2 is slightly noisier than the CoCo 1. So I need to figure out why.
Now we'd shown in previous videos he'd done in previous weeks here. The CoCo 2 is giving like sparklies and a bunch of other things here too. So the third video we did, and this is the one that Pedro mentioned to Aaron, on the show because Aaron hadn't got the response yet back from, was it Ian, I think he said in the UK that designed the HDMI board, where they had to do some tweaks to the settings. So this is the new version here on the CoCo 2.
So after several
and all that
days
sparkly
of
stuff is all
working on
gone.
my CoCo 2 RGB.
So the latest firmware edition or settings edition for that board that Aaron will be selling now should work on a CoCo 1, 2, or 3 without any background noise, etc. So it looks like that entire line of computers is solved. And of course, this also works, as Aaron mentioned, on Apple IIs and a bunch of other systems back in the day.
Other
as well.
lesser machines.
Yeah, exactly. I think you even mentioned the Tandy 1000 was one of the ones, right?
Yeah. I'm looking forward to trying this on my Tandy 1000.
So anyway, yeah, Pedro was kind of busy with this stuff this week here and actually cranked out 3 videos in the span of a week and got some problems solved from the developer himself. And Aaron will be selling these, like he said, in the States and Canada, since it's a lot cheaper to ship from there for us North Americans than it is to ship from England. So looking forward to that. And once again, he's experiencing trying to get parts, which is a worldwide phenomenon right now. But that's the end of the news.
All right. The end of Snoozy Newsy. All right. So
Mikey, wake up.
You can wake up now, Michael Furman. Okay. So we're going to keep it rolling because my hunger pains continue to grow. So we're going to move into project updates and acquisitions. This is Brian Wiesler segment of the show. And before we get to Brian Wiesler, who could be a whole show within itself, does anybody else have anything they want to talk about that will take considerably less time than Brian? Anyone? Anybody got an update, acquisition, story to show, story to tell? Anything else? Anyone? Anyone?
I got my second shot, so I'm ready to go to CoCo Fest.
Curtis Boyle's got his second shot. He's been fully de-rabied. He's got his tetanus shot and his rabies shot, so he's good.
I've been immunized against Apple II, so I'm ready to go to CoCo Fest.
All right, well, then we're going to just jump into Brian Wiesler, and if anybody decides they have other things they want to share or show and tell, after that, Brian Wiesler, you have the spotlight, sir. How have you been, sir? We have not had you on in a few weeks. It is good to see you again.
Yeah, been kind of busy with work and some other travel. Excuse me, some other travels. So, there you go. Can you hear me okay now?
We can hear you. Yep, we can hear you. We can see you.
Very good. Sorry about that. Little something stuck in my throat there. I was going to show some other things, but I'm just going to kind of trim it down a little bit here myself. So one thing I wanted to show, and since the gentleman's on the show with us right now,
Gentlemen, what gentleman? Yeah. You sure you're on the right show?
Exactly. I had reached out to Nick about some.
He's right, gentleman.
Gentleman, exactly.
He's a proper. But you know who would be a proper Australian gentleman is Ian Maverick, because he wears a 3-piece suit. So
there you go.
Whereas Nick, rarely wears clothes. So.
It's hot down here.
Sorry, we keep messing with you, Brian. You deserve better.
No,
you deserve
that's
better.
fine.
You deserve better. Nick doesn't, but you do. But
yeah. Nick had made a comment. I don't remember where it was that he had some.
I make lots of comments.
from some of his old games, and I reached out to him, and we ended up working a little trade thing out. But he sent me some original copies.
Oh, look
from
at
back in the
that!
From back in the day. So we have here
new old stock.
New old
Yes.
stock. So
Yeah.
so we have Donut Dilemma and the insert that would have went.
And this is the actual packaging that Radio Shack in Australia sold, because that's a game that was sold there, but not anywhere else.
Yeah.
Everything minus the plastic baggie itself.
Plastic bag.
Space
Intruders. Look at that. Requirements and the scenario.
And Nick, I have to say, I'm impressed that you actually had screenshots of the games on your artwork too, which most games back then and Radio Shack did not.
Yeah, they didn't. Nick's a high quality guy, man. Expect nothing but high quality from Nick.
And a gentleman.
And a gentleman. That's true. And a gentleman.
And the game that Nick comments about the fact that he was most proud of.
Rupert Rhythm.
Still with the spelling mistake.
So I was very happy to get those and very thankful. And
that is awesome.
Nick, were you able to put your soldering skills to work there yet?
Yep, my joystick is now working.
Excellent.
That is awesome.
And then another item here that I picked up. This was actually I was on eBay. It's kind of a Tangle.
You were on eBay? I can't believe that.
I know. It's an actual manufactured cassette a cable for the CoCo.
Okay.
But it has this extra little box here, and it has I don't know if it can zoom in or not, but it has yep, and it says high or low. And what it was designed for is if you're copying files to a PC and either the volume or like it's cutting off where it's too high, or the signal is very weak, this will actually amplify the signal. So it's to provide a better quality signal to the PC or to and from the CoCo. So I thought it was kind of an interesting. I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but
do you know if that was a commercial product or was that just some hobbyist thing that somebody did?
It was a hobbyist. Have you guys, on eBay? I don't know if you look or not. There's a guy out there that's been selling packages of belts for the various
interesting
cassette recorders.
Okay.
So he actually manufactured this. The other thing I picked up from him was this cable that he also manufactures. Allows you to plug into a USB port.
And it's got a 5-volt DC, right?
Well, it gives you the power, that you can actually run your Model 100 off of it. So if you don't use the batteries or you don't have the power pack, you can actually power your Model 100.
You'll go far, Fletcher.
From either a USB port or what he talks about using is like a USB power pack.
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah. Is that basically 5 volts DC, which is the kind of USB standard?
Well, it's 5 volts, but then this actually, I think he has a little step-up circuit in here because
it's not just passive
right.
then.
Right, your Model 100 is 6 volts.
Oh, we got a bonus volt in there.
Yep, so it has a little step-up circuit in there.
Okay.
Also, too, and I grabbed this one here. It was color stat, but it was in such beautiful condition here.
That is gorgeous.
So in the cassette there. Another item. I have some other items I'll show some other time that I got from Mr. Tim Lindner, but in a group of stuff that I bought from him, I wanted to show this one because I hadn't seen this one here. It was called Undercolor.
That was Dennis Kitz's CoCo magazine.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and so this is all 11 issues.
Oh my goodness!
Of that, so it was an issue, publication I had not seen before, but it has some really kind of cool, cool looking.
Kind of like a play on the word undercover. It's undercolor. Yeah. That is really interesting artwork there. Very almost Salvador Dali-ish, where you got the hand drawing itself. Oh, look at this stuff. This is really cool. You got to. Oh man!
Dennis is a creative force. He's the guy in charge of the CoCo list.
Not Salvador, but actually Escher. MC Escher had the one where the hand was drawing himself. Look, oh man, that's the hell is going on there.
I'm not sure.
I wonder if he used the same guy who did the artwork for the Color Computer magazine, because Dennis was part of that as well.
Yeah. I was wondering if hallucinogenics were involved in this photographic process or not.
Yeah, and of course he did Color Quaver. He did the lower kit. It was a force in the CoCo.
Very artsy. Very artsy.
He's also a professional music composer.
Oh, and it's like a comic strip panel thing on that one there. That's really cool. Is it kind of like a play on the old comic strip where the guy's getting sand kicked in his face, and that was a 98-pound weakling, and then I bought this thing here, and now I'm the...
Then you bought Nitrous 9, and all of a sudden...
So there was looks like there was 11 issues.
That is cool.
So there's some other stuff that I got from Tim. I'll share those at a later date there. Let's see. What was the other item I had here?
You realize that Tim is enabling you, right?
Yes, I do.
Yes,
do that.
You're not helping out, Tim.
I can't remember if I showed it or not though, but I did get one of Ed's. Well, not just the sticker though, but I actually got.
It comes with the Gimme X, right?
Right. Yep. And so I did send him one of my threes.
Okay.
And I got one of the other labels right here.
Nice.
It's in there, and I told him to go ahead and mod the case there and everything, so it's all ready to go with the cable and everything. So and it sends the same sort of cable that you get
the
CoCo
VGA. Yeah, yeah.
Yep. So I've been playing around with this here. It's kind of cool. I haven't had a chance.
Did you get the 8 meg board too? The little mini grand piano thing.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And I had him go ahead and install all that for me. So,
nice.
So yeah, that was kind of fun to be playing around with that. I haven't done the ease of use version yet with the Gimme X.
I hear the trash can loads up even faster now.
and in high res.
Yes.
So, and then lastly, one thing I wanted to show, and Mr. Music Man will probably like this one here. And I also, Stevie, when we were talking about it, kind of got me thinking about it. I've been playing a lot with some MIDI.
Oh, that's the Roland sound canvas. Okay. Oh, that is really cool.
And this is the one that does do the MIDI general.
Okay.
We were talking
General
about.
MIDI, right. Okay.
Yep. So I've been playing this and been playing some MIDI songs off of the CoCo.
That is so cool.
Really nice output. So.
Right. Yeah, we were having that discussion about General MIDI, how the MIDI tracks can sound different if the instruments aren't. It's got MIDI in.
Yeah, this one strictly has in is all it has, and then it has your
analog audio
stereo
out.
output.
Yeah.
Yep, that you can take and send to an amplifier.
Now, you said you've been actually playing stuff off the CoCo. Are you using the Bitbanger MIDI driver, or are you actually using the MIDI pack?
I'm using using Jim Brain's MIDI Meister is what I'm using right now. So
okay, so actual MIDI pack then.
Yep. Pack. But any of the MIDIs would work out there. Any of the various MIDI cartridges that were available should play it just fine.
Yeah, or the Bitbanger, I would assume would work too. Like if you're running Ultimus, that has the option of going through the Bitbanger as well. So.
Yep, I have not tried that before, but yep. So yeah. But that's all I have to share with you today.
Oh man, taking it easy on us. It's a light day there, Brian.
we know how much stuff you got in the back channel there. So
yes, I will. And I'm hoping to have a video ready here. I know you got another guest lined up for next week, and so I'm hoping to have something ready for the week after if we don't get another guest scheduled. Yeah. So
I will warn you, we've got 2 other guests we're working on right now. One, I've got a confirmation that yes, we're just trying to confirm the date, and the other one we're waiting for feedback. So. You may want to just sneak it in at some point anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
I'll try to coordinate.
I'll try to make sure I eat a meal before I start the show, because that's my problem. Is I'm still running off of my breakfast reserves at this point, and it's getting close to dinner time. So,
well, you should have someone bring you a sandwich.
I don't have a Sarah. I don't have a Sarah to bring me a sandwich. So,
you can always call Jimmy John.
Corn nuts. What does that say? Burnt nuts? What do you got? What is in that frickin' bag there, Brian? Burnt peanuts. Okay, burnt peanuts. Okay. You're muted, Brian. As a pro audio guy, it's
better that way, though.
You're still muted. Your lips move, but I can't hear what you say. Yeah. You look better in the dark. You sound better muted. But yeah, what were you saying?
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me better now?
Barely, but yes.
Interesting.
You pro audio guys and your lack of audio never ceases to amaze me. So, yeah.
Well, I'm using a different microphone. That's why. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah, we hear you.
That's what she said. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks.
So what's up with the burnt peanuts?
Oh, that's my lunch.
Okay.
See, he came prepared, Steve. He actually brought his lunch with him, so he doesn't have to interrupt the show.
Yeah, but then you'd either hear crunching sounds or my fingers would get greasy, and I'm trying to run a console here, so it is what it is.
There's this thing called the mute button, and
good to see you, Brian. Good to see you. Hopefully, we'll see you in Chicago in November, and possibly even in September if we can make it to VCF. Yeah,
I'm thinking about that, and you'll definitely hear me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Are you going to be able to make the drive to VCF?
Not the one in August.
No, the one in Chicago, the one in the Midwest. Yeah.
Of course,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it.
All right. Okay. Well, have we reached the end of the show? Or ending enough?
Gone beyond.
Okay. Well, how about we do this then? I will roll the outro, and then we'll come back for final thoughts. That way, whether or not you're ready, because it seems like there's some confusion as to whether people are done being on the show today or not. Well, I see Nick Marotta is running Glen Hewlett's demo in the background, and that's very mesmerizing how the patterns change, and it starts off as kind of a spherical orb, and then it becomes a star, and then it becomes other things. It's very cool. Very talented guy, that Glen Hewlett, I tell you what. All right, so we're going to play the outro, and then we'll be back. And after these outro-ish type words. This concludes another episode of CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy color computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, click on the Patreon link on our website, CoCoTalk.live. CoCoTalk would not exist without the community, its cast, crew, and contributors. Thanks go to Alan Murphy, Bill Noble, Brian Joyce, Brian Wiesler, Curtis Boyle, D. Bruce Moore, Danny O'Connor, David Ladd, Eric Canales, Grant Leedy, James Diffendaffer, Jason Reichert, Jim Brain, Ken Reichert, Mark Bosley, Mark Overholzer, Mikey Furman, Mr. Dave 6309, Nick Marentes, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Nick Marotta, Paul Fiscarelli, Richard Lorbieski, Rick Adams, Rick Hewlin, Rob Inman, Ron Delvaux, Samuel Gimes, Sloopy Malibu, Steve Bjork, Terry Steggy, Tom C., and many more. Please help support the CoCo community. A list of various contributors and resources are available at imacoconut.com. That's imacoconut.com. The original CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2008 by D. Bruce Moore and Greg Sheeler. The new CoCoTalk theme song is copyright 2020 by D. Bruce Moore. Both are mixed, mastered, and produced by D. Bruce Moore. CoCo forever, people! All right. And this is Go for Retro's favorite part of the show, where it ends. But
very popular part of the program.
Great show today. Great guest interview with Aaron from Retro Hack Shack. That was awesome. Great assembly with George J. I'm really appreciating what he's doing for us. And reasonably decent panel. Most of the people that I cared for have already left the panel, and then there's you guys that just won't go away. So,
gee, thanks, Stevie.
The stragglers that are keeping you away from your food.
The
Back of lunch.
I believe they're called.
Oh, awesome!
I think Stevie has become angry.
Good times, good times. No, I really enjoyed today. Another great show. I really, I like what we do here. We do good stuff, man. We're doing the Lord's work in the world of the CoCo here, and it's all good, man. So good stuff, Brian. Good to see you again, Brian Wiesler. Haven't seen you in a while. And Brian the Music Man, good to see you. Jason Reichert is here, and Nick Marotta, crikey, Alan Murphy.
Gentleman?
Yes, the gentleman.
Where?
The gentleman's gentleman, Nick Marotta. We never forget that.
That is the biggest word, using the word loosely, I would ever use.
Mark Bosley, Nick Marotta. Did I do the results video justice today, Nick Marotta?
Yes, I like the Porky Pig ending. That was really good.
There you go. I know people are longing for your format again. I'm getting all kinds of subtle clues and requests for going back to the basics on that one, and
oh my goodness.
But
it's good to know that when I go back to it, people like it.
Yes, yeah, I'm getting all kinds of nods.
It's good to know people like it.
Yes, and hey, listen,
I'll start doing it again.
David Ladd just got here. I think we need to start the show all over again. David Ladd, are you excited to be here today?
Why, yes, everyone, and I'm overly rested at the moment. I fell asleep before the show.
Well, at least you didn't fall asleep during the show. That's better.
Overly.
No, I'm not Nick.
Did you have the show on when you fell asleep?
Yeah. And
no, actually, I had the voice on while I was on Discord and fell asleep on you guys.
Everybody got to hear David snoring until he went to AFK. So good times. Rick Eulin, thanks for being here. John Boat of Car, thanks for being here. L. Curtis Boyle, thank you for putting together the news and for procuring our guests and everything else. And we have Torsten to thank for bringing in our guest next week. Word on the street is that he was up all night playing games, is what Wide World of Retro says, David Ladd. So that your secret's out. Mark D. Overholzer, Johnny on the spot with the live chat. Mark Bosley, our backup streamer and engineer. Everybody, thank you to gentleman Nick Marotta. Thank you for your gentlemanly ways. We could all learn from you. We're gonna press the button. Say goodbye, everybody.
Not quite yet.
Not quite. Oh, that's right. You needed to
Sir Nick Marotta.
Sir Nick Marotta. Yeah, we have more things to plug. So Curtis and
So two things to plug. I mean, first of all, is the live CoCo Show taping tomorrow. Vogt will give you details right now.
Yeah. So we are going to start taping. We are going to start taping at 2:00 tomorrow, 2:00 Eastern time. We will do the ZX Spectrum show first, and then 1200 XL, and at 3 p.m. we are going to tape T&D Color Baseball for episode 11 of the CoCo Show. So feel free to stop by. We love having folks in the chat, and it's going to be a good time.
Make sure you run a demagnetizer and a head cleaner through your recorder before you start that taping for the best quality.
I'm going to start taping.
And of course, our interview next week with Stefan about this Infocom engine-based game for 25 platforms, which even Vogt might want to tune in because there's definitely a Spectrum version of that one, as well as some of the other machines. Actually, I think all your shows are covered with versions of that game. So,
absolutely. All right, and so Jason Reichert has done his taping.
Yes, I have my taping.
His
yes,
packing
we're
taping there.
tape.
There we go.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, say goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye,
everybody. Bye, everyone.
Ooh.